Me. Testing, testing, testing. We should be live on the Twitch right now, and we should be live on the YouTube as well right now. So if you're listening to me, Lord Tellum, there we go. Lord Tellum, our good friend here on Twitch. Oh my god. Let's hope I don't get my usual sneeze attacks today. I think the music's a little bit too loud still. That should be a little bit better. There we go. We should be live on YouTube as well, my friends. If you are on YouTube and you're watching this right now, just let me know in the chat if you can hear me. If the music's not too loud. If you're having a great day, of course. If you're looking forward to some 3D today. All of that. All of that, let me know. Thank you, Kipsala. Thank you. Okay, so if you heard my sneeze, that means that... what's the word? That probably means that you did hear my my voice as well. Nobix, what's up, my friend? Welcome to your first live stream here on the channel. Happy to see you here. We should be going live now on TikTok as well. We're going live on TikTok too. Gonna be everywhere. Alice in Renderland, what's up, my friend? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're having a great Friday. We are about to start. Yeah, we're about to start. We should be live on... Are we live on TikTok now? I think so. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, we should be live on TikTok as well now. And we are going to be starting very soon. We got Peter Wolf, Bailey Hamza, Cho Xing T Van D, Nancy Grow. What's up, guys? We got Harish here on YouTube. I'm gonna eat my granola bar before we start. Roger Paul Dambley says, "Hello, Abe. How are you doing?" I'm doing great, man. I'm quite pumped. I actually have some little surprise. It's been streamed already on the short for today, but I'm gonna talk about it in just a second. We're gonna start in just a couple of minutes. Feel free to ask any questions in the meantime. It's 5 more minutes. Oh yeah, they're gonna join. They're probably just getting ready as well. I started a little bit earlier today than usual. We're usually starting right on the dot. Alice in Renderland says, "I've been binge watching your hard surface tutorials. I'm making armor for the first time for the contest." Nice. Yeah. We're probably gonna be doing a little bit of armor today. Gonna be doing something fun as well. And Mango's asking me for advice on horns detailing. I think we did a stream already, didn't we, my friend? We did that with the dagger a couple of... that was last year. So just go back and check that one. we sculpted the horns quite a bit there. Like I didn't finish the whole thing, but I was able to do quite a bit. Remember that as with everything, we've talked about this before. When you're dealing with anything sculpting related, you want to think in stages, right? Primary forms, secondary forms, tertiary forms. Primary details, secondary details, tertiary details. That's how we do it, okay? We got Alan here in the house. What's up, Alan? Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Sudan, what's up, my friend? Welcome, guys. We'll start in just a couple more minutes. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One question: do you guys on TikTok are you hearing the audio? We have a little bit of music going, like background music. I just want to make sure if you're on TikTok and you're watching right now, let me know if okay. There's music. Cool, nice. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I saw there was a submission. I actually have a good advice for that person that submitted. We'll probably talk about that in just a second. Okay, let's see. Am I missing anything here? I don't think so. I think we're good to start. I could not find your Santa head sculpt. Did you delete that stream? Oh, I don't know, man. Hassan, I'm not sure. I am not sure. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's get started. Just 1 minute, but I think we're ready. And there we go here. And there we go here. What's up, guys? Hello, and welcome to another live stream here on the channel, on Abe Leal's 3D channel. I'm Abe Leal. And, well, this is a 3D channel. So we're going to be dealing with a lot of 3D stuff today. We got a lot of things to cover, but before we do that, I do have a cool announcement, and I know the TikTok guys are already seeing this because of the vertical stream. But we have a little surprise for everyone. So if you're here, you are going to get a nice little surprise in just a second. Let me just change this picture right here. There we go. So, there is a software that we are going to be using today that I love. The super fun software. You guys have probably heard about this one. Let me go full screen here. Let's go mainstream right now. There you go. And this software, my friends, is called Marvelous Designer. So Marvelous Designer is a software that we've featured here on the channel before. We actually have a full course about it, right? And it's a specific software used to create clots. We're going to work on it a little bit today because it's just amazing. But here's the fun thing, and here's the surprise for everyone. We reached out to the guys at Marvelous, and we're like, hey, we're having a contest. It would be cool if we could have you guys be part of that contest. Would you like to be a part of it? And they were like, of course, yes. We want to be part of this. So we talked to our friends at the Marvelous Designer team, and they are going to be part of the sponsors now. So as you guys know, and if you've been living under a rock, well, now you're going to know, we have a very special event going on right now, which is Call to Adventure, right? This guy right here, which is a 3D art contest. All of the rules and all of the information are on the Discord server, and you can check all of the information right here. And we're also talking about the treasure, right? So the treasure is the prizes that you're going to be getting, and we're going to have money price, a cash price, and also licenses and softwares for you, my friends. So far we have Topogun licenses for all of the winners, 3D code licenses for the winners as well. We got Cascadeur licenses for animation purposes. We have what else? I'm missing one. Marmoset licenses, right? And the new extra prize that we're going to be adding is, of course, Marvelous Designer licenses. So Marvelous Designer, as I'm showing you here on the screen, has been used for a long time. It's been around in the industry for, I don't know, like the past 10 or 15 years, something like that. It's been a long time here in the industry, and it's really good. I'll show you some of the codes. We're actually going to be taking the alien that we've been working on, and we'll be adding some stuff to him in just a second. But it's going to be here. It's going to be available for you now. The surprise that I have for everyone right here, and again, I already announced this on the short, is that our friends at the Marvelous team are giving us a free month for everyone who's working on the contest right now. So if you're working on the contest, if you are part of the competition, if you are doing a character and your character has any type of fabric, cloth, or even armor, right? Like you can even do armor stuff inside of Marvelous Designer. Well, you are going to be able to use Marvelous for free for the next month. So the only thing you need to do is you need to join our Discord channel, right? Discord channel right here. And there's going to be this secret code right here. Don't screen cap us right now. You need to join the Discord. I'm kidding. Like if you want to copy it right now, there you go. Like you can copy it. So this is the code right now. And if you use this code and follow the instructions that are right here on how to redeem the code, you guys are going to be earning a 1 month for Marvelous Designer. Completely free. Like all of the features unlocked, like everything available for you. You're going to be able to use it again for your character, which is what Mango was saying right here, right? Like we already have a submission here by our good friend. Let's take a look at his name. His name is Pudizone. So Pudizone, or I'm not sure how to pronounce it, already created a very cool character here called Eye of the River. And it's very cool. I like it. It's sort of like very classic, right? Kung Fu style. Here's the thing. The cloth does look a little bit lumpy, right? So, my friend, you are getting a little bit of feedback. I was not going to be doing this, or I'm not going to be doing this for every single submission, but yours actually is right where we need it today. Because if you go now and you take the code that I just shared here on the event rules, secret code from our friends at Marvelous Designer, you could redo the cloth very, very easily. And you are going to be able to, You're going to be able to, well, improve this piece a little bit more. So I strongly recommend that you use the code and, well, use the software to your advantage. Just delete this post and resubmit once you're finished, and you're going to be good to go. Let's see. Matthews Victorino says, I didn't know about the contest until this week. Sad. No, don't worry, Matthews, because you still have until August 6th. So you still have 3 full weeks. Like, if you put yourself and like, if you really, really? Hell. Anyway, so if you put your time and effort into this, I'm sure you're gonna be able to do it. 3 weeks is more than enough. And as we have there on the rules, like it doesn't need to be like super. Like you don't need to do the full production pipeline. You can just do a quick retopology, or you could even just do polypaint. Like there's a couple of like little shortcuts that you can take on the submissions, and you're gonna be just fine. So. Hassan says 5 stars here so much, man. Congrats. Thank you. Yeah, no, the people have been really cool with this contest. They've been like really nice. How does M Designer compare to Characters Creator or DAS? Oh, it's way better, Kevin. Like for cloth creation is way better. Again, as I mentioned, we're gonna be taking a look at it today. So let me start getting things ready so that you can see how cool this is. Hey Abe, did you join any in-person conventions? I went to GDC earlier this year in San Francisco to the Game Developers Conference. It was so much fun. Had a lot of fun on that one. Met like a bunch of amazing people. And yeah, I was asked if I was going to be going to SIGGRAPH this year, which is this week or next week, I think. And no, I'm not going to be able to attend SIGGRAPH this year, but maybe next year. We'll see. Okay, so this is the character that we have right now. Correct. And I want to do a couple of things with this character. I want to make some of these elements a little bit better for him. I want to add some like pants or something, I think, for the character. I don't know, maybe a shirt. And this is where Marvel's Designer is really good. I also want to do something with this piece right here, because right now I don't like this like bumpy element. I think we can do something way better. So we're gonna need a couple of things here to make this work. Actually, let's start with that one. I think that's a simple one to start with. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete this guy right here. And we're going to append a ring or a torus, right? So just a simple ring, simple torus. And we're going to grab that ring right there. And we're going to position that ring as a placeholder where we want the sort of like cloth or membrane or whatever to be, which is going to be like right around here. Okay, so that's where we're going to have an interesting effect here for the character. And then the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push this, like give it a little bit more shape, right? A little bit more form conforming to the character. And this is where, again, Marvel's Designer shines. As a software, Marvel's Designer is going to allow us to simulate fabric, right? Anything cloth related, and again, even armor related, you're going to be able to simulate and get really like some very, very cool realistic results that would just take way too much time in the traditional like sculpting pipeline. Does that mean that we cannot sculpt cloth? Like if you don't have access to marbles, does that mean that you're lost? No, of course you can always like sculpt things, but it's definitely going to make it a little bit easier for us. So there you go. As you can see, we have this thing right there, which is where I want it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that little piece into marbles. Okay, so I'm going to export. Let's go desktop. Let's keep things organized. So I'm going to do it here. Let's call this neck piece. And normally I like to do FBX and hit save. There we go. Awesome. So now if we jump back to Marvel's Designer, I'm going to be able to import that specific asset. I'm going to import that FBX. Let's do the neck piece, hit open. I'm not going to change anything right now. I hope that the scale is up to scale, but if it's not, that's fine. We can change it and adjust it very easily. So I'm just going to hit OK and load the FBX already. Can Blender achieve what Zbrush can? No, it cannot. It cannot achieve that. Why? Because Zbrush is technically not a 3D software. There you go. So as you can see, we have this guy right here. It's very, very small, so I'm going to have to change the scale. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to add an extra couple of zeros. So 0, 0. And then 0, 0. And then 0, 0. Why? Because Marvelous works with real-world scale, or as close as possible to real-world scale. So the closer we are to real-world scale, the easier it's going to be for everyone. I actually feel that this might be a little bit too big, but that's fine. We can work with this. I think my computer is going to be able to handle it. Now let me move the screen a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better. There you go. So especially for those who are on the vertical view right here. It's Marvel's Designer, a full character creator just for cloth. Just for cloth. So you need to bring in your avatar into Marvel's Designer, and then you design the cloth around it. So it's not like someone else was mentioning character creator. No, character creator will allow you to create a character, but not for this one right here. I asked for your suggestions for building a PC. You suggested the Ryzen 9950 X3D and the RTX 5080. I went ahead and built it, and after checking the performance, it's absolutely insane. Yeah, like that's a beast of a computer. That's what I have right now. It's a really, really powerful computer. Like you're not gonna have any issues. Do you plan to make any tutorials on Marvel Designer for beginners? Pacats, yes, I actually already have. I have a full course about that. And it was funny because the guys at the Marvelous Designer team, they saw it and they were like, oh dude, like it's awesome that you did this. It's amazing. So it's this one. It's Introduction to Marvelous Designer. So if you want to learn and build this character at the same time, this like Plague Doctor right here, we have this course. It's like 7 hours. It's like, again, relatively short, but it's going to give you all of the necessary information. And it's going to teach you like all of the basics about the software and, well, how to create a cool looking character. And the most important thing, as I've mentioned, we've talked about this quite heavily on the past live streams. It will teach you why do we do the things, why do the tools work the way they do, right? So that kind of stuff. Okay, so here's the fun thing. I'm gonna go here and I'm just gonna create a simple rectangle, right? Very simple rectangle. It's gonna be something like this. There you go. And now if I click on this little arrow, boom, that thing's gonna simulate, and now we have like a scarf, right? So this is the beauty of Marvel's Designer. I challenge anyone, any Blender user, any Maya user, to be able to simulate cloth with this speed. There's no way. There's just like absolutely no way you're gonna be able to simulate at this speed. You're gonna have to cache, and you're gonna have to do simulations. You're gonna be doing, again, like a bunch of different things in order to really get exactly what you need. So as you can see right here, this is one of the big advantages of Marvel's Designer. It's freaking fast, right? Like it's stupidly fast in simulating this kind of stuff. And at any point, I can just take this into Zbrush and continue sculpting. So it's really, really good. Let's see. Did that driver version work? I'm not sure what driver you're talking about, Sekiro. If you clarify, I can help you. Can you recall me, Sammy, on Discord? Yeah, I remember you, man. I remember. That's 3D is by the same guys, and it's a character creator. No. That's 3D. It's a different thing. That's 3D is another type of software. It's used. I actually used it earlier this year. I was taking a mentorship about concept design, and in that mentorship, they recommend using it for like a general pose and general creation of the character. Does Marvel Design works with Apple? If you mean with a Mac, yes, it should have a Mac option. Marvelous is so cool. I should get the course. Yeah, you're gonna enjoy it. It's a very good one. But now let's talk a little bit more about this thing right here. So what I want to create here is I want to create a lining, right? I want to sort of like cover this like donut shape with cloth to get like this sort of like crinkly wrinkles around the neck. Again, something that would take me a little bit longer, probably inside of what's the word? Zbrush. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create the one side right here. There you go. And then I'm gonna just create, or just actually just right click, and I'm going to duplicate this thing. Let's see. Where is it? I'm just gonna do mirror paste. Oh. Right click and mirror paste. Hey. Or sorry, I'm gonna have to do copy and then right click, mirror paste. There you go. So now we have two sides of this guy right here. And what I can do is I can prepare these guys by rotating them, you know, like any 3D software out there, right? Like I can prepare them and be like, okay, this is gonna be on this side of the donut, and this guy right here, I want it to be on the inside of the donut, right? Like this. And then what I want to do, of course, is I want to sew these things together. Like I want to create a connection between them. And the way we do this is as in real life. We're gonna do like sewing. Like literally, if we were using a thread and we were sewing things. So I'm gonna sew from one side to the other, like that. There we go. And then we're gonna sew from this side here. There you go. See how we got all of those threads? Now, the fun thing with this one is the moment I simulate, boom, we're going to get this thing exactly where we need to. There's going to be a little bit of overlap, so I'm going to have to sort of like play around with this and try to get it outside of the element. This is one of the little unfortunate situations of the software, right? But we can solve it. We can definitely solve it. Going to be able to do something like this. We could try curving the cloth a little bit, because right now it's crunching a little bit too much. There you go. I'm going to grab this guy right there and just push it. But again, the cool thing, or one of the big advantages of this element is the fact that it's very quick, right? Like very quickly we can get this sort of like thing to work. I think I'm going to have to do smaller segments here for this to work a little bit better. So let's start over with this one. Let me go over here. We can also use curves. I'm trying to think what the best option is going to be. I think just a smaller segments is probably going to be the way to go. So we're going to start with a small segment here. And we're going to do, again, the copy paste thing. So we're going to copy. And we're going to mirror paste. There you go. If we start with a small segment, should avoid a little bit of that like overlapping issue that we had. I would like to learn more about clothing creation. I would say I'm mid-level or a bit higher. What courses, books do you recommend me? Where do I get more info about this? Genaro, my course. if I can do a little bit of self-promotion, right? So this is the course that I have. It's called Introduction to Marvelous Designer. Let me link it here on the chats so you guys have access to it. And in this one, we're going to be covering. And here's the fun thing. As I mentioned earlier today, like if you are currently, like if you want to learn Marvelous Designer, either for the contest or just because you have access, we have this code. It's going to be here in Event Rules. You can use this code right here, 1 full month, completely free of Marvelous Designer. And you can learn all of the tools of the software. Like I think in a month, if you take the course and you take the code, in a month, you should be able to get to this result right here with the Plague Doctor. Because it's just 7 hours of content. Yes, it's going to take you a lot longer to repeat the things and repeat the elements inside of the software. But you can like very, very easily learn it. Normally, they only offer like a smaller period of like a trial period. But with that code, you're going to get a full month. So strongly recommend that you get it. And of course, use it for the contest. Okay, so we're gonna have this one right here and this one right here. Cool. Now, what I want to do here, because I know I'm already going to be using more of this, guys, is I want to duplicate them, right? So I'm going to grab this guys right here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to do a symmetric pattern with sewing. So what that will do is it will duplicate the elements. And as you can see, it will keep them very, very similar. And if I start using any type of like a segment sewing, it's going to... what's the word? It's going to respect that. So As you can see, it's doing the sewing on both sides at the same time, which is amazing because now, if I simulate, that was funny. It simulated way too fast. Let's reset the trim rearrangement. We might need to move this guys a little bit lower. So I'm gonna grab this guys, move them a little bit lower. Same for this guy. Put a little bit lower. And there we go. So now we simulate. Perfect. Look at that. Now we got the actual like element going across the little donut shape, right? Now, the first thing I'm noticing is that it's way too tight. Can you see that? Can you see how those elements are like having a hard time like creating any sort of wrinkles because we actually have what's the word? We actually have like they're just like too tiny, right? But here's the cool thing. I can go back to this guys right here, and I'm gonna make them a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna scale this. That's gonna change the element, and now because they're sort of like holding the shape a little bit better, I should be able to just position them back into where I need them. So right around there. Same for this one right here. There we go. Now if we simulate, boom, it's a lot better, right? Of course, we need to sort of like push some of these elements out. There you go. Look at that. We're already getting some like interesting shapes right here without any effort. Now, the quality of the cloth still not the greatest, but we'll fix that in just a second. I'm gonna grab this guys right here. I'm gonna copy again, and I'm going to paste here. We're gonna have this shape right here. And the cool thing is because we're pasting this shape, as you can see, it's already giving me sort of like the shape of the tube. So this should make it a little bit easier to position this new segment where I need it, right? Like as long as it's mostly inside of the element, when it simulates, I'm not gonna have that much overlap. Like it's going to what's the word? It's going to adapt very, very nicely and very cleanly to the element. Let's see. Cool stuff, bro. Really appreciate what you're doing. You're welcome, Atir. You are welcome. So let's push this in here. We're gonna need 2 of them though. So this one gonna go like right around there. Oh, I really hope this like deforms properly. And then let's paste again. Control C, Control B. And this one's of course going to go on this other section right here. Let's see. Do we have any other questions about this? We're gonna be doing more stuff with this software in just a second, guys. This is just like the start here. There you go. That should work. Okay. I'll make sure that both of the holes, the upper and lower holes, are at least closer to the edge. There you go. Oh, let's pray this works. Oh, no, it didn't work. Okay, no big deal. So let's grab this guys again. I'm just gonna reset those. Where is it? Here, reset 3D arrangement. No, I didn't want to do that. I'm gonna grab this guys. This one is already where I want them. I'm gonna hit Control K. Control K is gonna freeze them. I should be able to just grab this ones and reset the 3D arrangement. Yes, there you go. Okay, cool. Okay, it's not great, but it's not horrible. So let's grab this one again and position it up here. Becker Draw says, I need a computer. Yeah, unfortunately, this is a little bit of it's not super demanding software because it's using GPU, or it can use GPU. So if you're using GPU, this is usually a little bit faster. But you do need, because it's simulation, right? Like we're actually working with like simulation particles and things like that. You do need a little bit of a strong computer. Again, it's not, you're not gonna need like a super intense one, but just a little bit. I'm gonna grab this one and freeze it. Let's do 1 by 1. So let's try that right there. Okay, not bad. A little bit better. There you go. We're pulling and pushing some of the elements right there. Awesome. That's what we want. You can undo. Yeah, you can undo last step with Control C. That's right. Yeah, like most softwares out there, right? Let's really try to Push this to the other side. There you go. It's better. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop the simulation, grab this guy, push it out a little bit, rotate it, right? So that border right there is on this side. There we go. And then we simulate again. See that? Much better. Much better. Cool. Now we have that little section right there. Grab it again. Control K to unfreeze it or to freeze it. Let's Control K to unfreeze this one. Oh, actually, really good. That did a good job right there, but I actually want to move it a little bit. So this one's gonna be on this top section right here. Do you prefer Blender? I work in Blender, but it's cool to see this workflow. Yeah, no, I mean, Blender is good. We've mentioned that before, right? We have nothing against Blender. I love Blender. I use Blender. However, the one thing that I feel a lot of Blender users tend to think is that Blender is the only option, right? And no, remember, there's a lot of like specialty softwares out there. Yes, Blender is free, which is freaking amazing, right? But that doesn't mean that it's the only option, and that doesn't mean that it's the better option for certain things. So for instance, Marvelous Designer is used quite a bit for like film stuff. When they're doing like imagine like Elsa's dress, right, from Frozen. Of course, Disney doesn't do that because they have their own proprietary like dynamic systems. But if they're doing any, like if you need to simulate a dress flowing with the wind and things like that, this software, Marvelous Designer, is going to give you like the best result compared to like the default things that we might have in other programs, right? So I'm not saying you can't do this kind of stuff in other programs. I'm just saying that it's usually like specialized softwares are specialized for a reason, right? Like they have all of the tools and all of the programming and all of the elements to really give you the result that you're looking for a little bit easier, right? A little bit easily. So if you're doing this as a hobby, if you're doing this just for yourself or just to have fun, sure, you can do most of the stuff with like a default, or as they say, vanilla tools, right? Like Blender and the default like dynamic stuff and things like that. But if you are working in a studio or in a project where a specific level of quality is really important, then it is important to use the best tools available for you at that time, at that point, right? So just be mindful about that. That's again like the general or the famous fight between Blender and Zbrush for sculpting, and that's why I think Zbrush is just like way better, because it has better tools, especially made for sculpting. Can you sculpt inside of Blender and can you create amazing things? Yes, but would it be possible for you to create something at the level of, let's say, Kratos from God of War in Blender? It's probably not, because there's going to be a couple of tools that Blender doesn't have that Zbrush does that are just going to be, again, like a little bit more difficult for you to do. There you go. So we've successfully covered the whole neck piece here with our clots. Now what I want to do is, of course, I want to join all of them together, right? So I'm going to grab all of these guys right here and hit Control K to unfreeze them. And I need to start stitching them again back together. So I'm going to use the stitching feature here, so segment sewing. And what I want is I want to start like just stitching things, for instance, from here to here. From here to here. Oh, here. What? From here to here. There you go. From here to here. Okay, that one's reversed, as you can see right there. The stitching is reversed, so it's going in a different direction. I don't want that. I need to go to edit sewing. Actually, I didn't sew it, so that's an important thing. Sewing lines should have a specific direction. There you go. Go. This one right here to here. This one right here. Here, this one right here, here, go, and this is where it's gonna get tricky because I can't see what's going on. So let's simulate first. As you can see, most of them are already getting like stuck together, which is what we want. But the ones that are not, there you go. That's the little option right there. And then here. So let's just open up the cloth a little bit to be able to stitch this a little bit easier. I love the software. It's so fun. It almost feels like playing a game, which is so cool. Let's see. I'm a 3D modeler who only works with Zbrush and prepare models for 3D printing, wargame miniatures. Nice, nice. Yeah. I'm going to attend the Game Environment 6-month intensive course. Have you some service for me? You mean advice? Oh man, I'm not sure if I have a specific advice. I mean, if you're already going to somewhere, you're going to teach you a lot of techniques. Just make sure to ask a lot of questions. Like if you don't understand something, just ask. Of course, ask in a polite way, right? And try to do your own work and don't. It's not that I'm telling you not to ask stupid questions, but sometimes people are asking things like, "What's extrude?" It's like, dude, like you shouldn't be like attending this kind of like courses or seminars or whatever if you're still learning like the very basics of that kind of stuff, right? So here's an issue. As you can see right there, we have a little bit of an issue with the stitching on this side right here. So I'm gonna go here to edit sewing, and it's this one right here, it seems. I'm going to right click. Oh no, that is that one. That's one of these ones. There you go. The sewing was reversed. Awesome. So as you can see, we've successfully what's the word? We've successfully covered the little donut thing here for our alien with cloth, which was the initial idea, right? That we wanted. Now, what I want to do is I want to be able to increase the amount of like wrinkles that we have. And we're going to be doing that by changing the dynamic properties of the element. So this is going to allow us to have a little bit more detail on this thing. Solid Mango says, just redeem the MD license. Thank you, sir. You're welcome. Use it for your advantage, man. Like anyone who's watching right now, we have a gift from our friends at Marvelous Designer. For anyone participating on the contest, you can use this secret code right here and redeem a full month, complete month of Marvelous Designer. You just need to join the Discord, and instead of the Discord channel on the Call to Adventure event, on the event rules, that's where the secret code's going to live, and there are the instructions to redeem. So you guys are welcome to do this. Will you ever do a figure drawing course? No, because I'm not a 2D artist. If I were to become a 2D artist, if I were to to do a little bit more of that, then sure. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go and change. I want to give a little bit more cloth here, so I think I'm gonna stretch them a little bit. Hopefully this doesn't break too much. So I'm gonna stretch the islands a little bit. What that stretching will do, as you guys can imagine, is now that we have more fabric, we're gonna have more wrinkles, right? So as you can see, we're starting to get a little bit more wrinkles on the whole thing, which is giving us a very, very nice, interesting result. I think we can go a little bit further though. So let's really stretch them out. There you go. And then let's simulate. Awesome. There we go. That's giving us some really, really interesting wrinkles, and we're gonna be able to bundle these things up a lot nicer. Does that make sense? Right? Now, there are properties. Cloth has properties. It's not the same if you're wearing, let's say, a denim pants that if you're wearing, I don't know, like a wool or cotton pants, right? Like every single one is going to be a little bit different. Which of your courses would you recommend? What for you? It really depends on what you want to do. And Arte Soleil, do you do Niagara VFX? No, I don't do VFX. That's one area that I'm not an expert at. Instead of manually pulling, why don't you just increase the reset pressure? Yes, we are going to be doing a little bit of that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab these guys right here. And first of all, I want to play a little bit with the shrinkage weft and shrinkage warp. So this is going to change the behavior of the cloth. If I increase this, let's say to 150, this is like the vertical and the horizontal like movement of these things, right? So as you can see now, by increasing the initial shrinkage weft, we're making the cloth a lot looser, and we're getting a lot more of this information. If we also do that on the warp, this is going to change on the horizontal axis right here. So let's do 150 as well, and there you go. That's awesome. That's what I wanted to go for. Look at that. Beautiful, right? Now we get this very nice, interesting, crunchy effect across the whole element, which is exactly what I am sort of like aiming for. This like very interesting effect. And at any point, if that's a little bit too much, for instance, I can just reduce this thing. Like maybe 150 was a little bit too much. Let's try 120 or 120 or 130 instead. Now I actually liked it. I like how it looked a little bit more there. So let's do 135. There you go. And we're going to do 135 here as well. There you go. So we got a little bit more of that sort of like puffiness with the whole thing. Who are you making? Or what more? So this thing right here is going to be for this alien right here. So that piece of clothing is going to be living where this like circle is right now. And we're using Marvel's Designer to add more detail, something that will take me like a lot more time inside of Zbrush. Now, someone was mentioning pressure. Pressure is really interesting because we can do that. So pressure is literally is as if we were like filling this thing with air. So we can change that here on the pressure options. So if I start increasing the pressure here, there's going to be a little bit more puffiness to the whole thing. Okay, like I'm going to go all the way to the top and boom, look at that. Oh my God, that's perfect. So this is literally if we were sticking a freaking like compressed air hose into this element and just like inflating the whole thing, which is going to make it look very, very cool. Very puffy, right? Like if this is supposed to keep the pressure inside of the suit, well, this is exactly what we're achieving. So look at that. Way, way nicer, right? Way, way more interesting. Now, I think we're ready to bring this into Zbrush and just like see how this looks with the character. But one thing that I want to mention is the particles, right? Like this is why Marvel Designer is so so cool. If we go here to the top and we take a look at the wireframe of the element, these are the current triangles, which are technically not triangles, they're like particles that are making up our mesh, right? Like this, like a puffy neck piece right here. And this mesh right here has a specific density to it. If we want more details, if we want the what's the word? If we want the fabric in this case to look a lot more intense, we can grab all of these elements right here and reduce the particle distance. But before I do that, I'm actually going to save because I don't want this to break. And it's common because again, with simulation, it's heavy on the computer, right? I'm going to save this right here. So I'm gonna grab all of these elements right here, and I am going to go to the particle distance, and I'm gonna decrease this to something like 5, which is really low, to be honest. So 5 particle distance, as you're about to see right here, it's gonna give me some really small triangles, right? And the cool thing about this is once I simulate again, thanks to the fact that we have like smaller triangles, the simulation is going to be a lot smoother. Look at that, guys. My God. That's just great. Look at that. Super clean effect there on the fabric, right? We get that very nice, intense feeling, and this is exactly what I needed. This is what I wanted to create. And it took us, what, like 30 minutes, even though I was like, you know, struggling a little bit with the fitting at the first part. This is great. How long would this have taken me inside of Zbrush? Probably like 4 or 5 hours, and I'm not even sure I could get to this level of like organicity, if that's something that we can say, right? So yeah, this is it. This is the piece. So now the only thing I can do, or the only thing I need to do, is grab this whole thing right here, file. I'm gonna export this. I'm gonna export this as let's do OBJ selected for now. Let's call this neck piece. Done. And we need to do a couple of things here. So we do want to weld. We do want to have a single object. Weld transitions. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. And just hit OK. And if we do that, and we go to our folder here, you're gonna see that in between all of these things right here, we're gonna have the neck piece. What did I call it? Neck piece ready? Where is it? Well, the hell is it? Did I not save it here? In the desktop? Huh, now I can't find it. Where the hell is it? I have to export it again. So, export to OBJ selected. Oh, it's on the wagon. My bad. Now let's save it on the gnome. The wagon was another exercise that we did. Neck piece. Neck piece ready. There we go. For characters, able for sure as main focus. Not sure what you mean by that. You can get assets as low as about 3k polys with the right setting. Yeah. But I don't care about doing a low poly asset for this particular element. I actually want to have like the highest quality possible, because what if I want to 3D print, right? So if this is for 3D print, or if this is the high poly, then at this point I again don't care about the poly count of the element. I care about making sure that it looks as cool as possible. I was talking about that with a student yesterday in one of my mentorships. There are two sort of like schools of thought when it comes to creating assets for games. And one of the schools of thoughts is to minimize or to simplify everything as much as possible, which is fine. It's a perfectly valid way to do it. I personally like the other school of thought, which is to make things as cool as possible in the high poly first, and then optimize for whatever the project requires. So that way you're not constrained by a poly count, and you're constrained more by the artistic decisions or the artistic direction that you might want to have, right? So it's again, both of them are perfectly valid, but they do serve different purposes. And look at that, guys. Oh my god, that just looks amazing. Imagine that with some like cool textures, like I don't know, like a carbon fiber thingy or something. I don't know. Like this is just very, very nice. And there we go. So now we're inside of Zbrush, and we can continue like tweaking this thing if needed, right? And we have that very nice looking piece here for the character. Oh, I see. Says my comment was a repoly for if they could be game ready. Yes. If you want to make them game ready and you don't want to do retopology, technically you could just like tweak the settings inside of marbles a little bit more, and you can get like a very nice like game ready asset. Actually, I think we have that. Like I can show you that in just a second here. You can always add additional seams for more angles. I think you should use a UV checker to see where it gets warped and add more seams where needed. Pixel Dreams. Oh, it's asking another question that I didn't see. Could you achieve the same thing using Zbrush Dynamics? No. I mean, maybe, but it's gonna be tough. Like it's not one of those things that's gonna be super easy, to be honest. Let me see if I have the render. Yes, I have it. So this is a demo that we did. What was it, Alan? Like two months ago or something. I think it was like 2 months ago. This was actually a fun one because this was a project that I was working on here on the studio, small local project that we're doing, and the little things right here, the sacks, the corn sacks, they were done with Marvel's Designer. So I used Marvel Designer to generate these ones, and these are a little bit more aligned to the game ready like level that we might want. So I know you guys are gonna see this and gonna be like, oh, that's way too dense. It's not dense. It's fine. These guys, like if I select any of the sacks, they're only 5,000 triangles each, 6,000 triangles. That's perfectly fine. You can even see the memory usage, 0.35 megabytes of memory usage, 0.17 megabytes of VRAM usage, 0.11 megabytes of ray tracing VRAM usage. So don't be scared of poly count, guys. Yes, we need to be mindful about it. Yes, we need to optimize when needed. But we live in a day and age now where where engines can handle this kind of stuff, right? Especially for objects like this that have like really intense or a little bit more complex silhouettes. Yes, if you're doing just a cylinder, right, like a lamppost or whatever, of course you don't want to have like thousands and thousands of polygons. But it's fine to have a little bit of a higher poly count sometimes if the object requires it. Okay, so this one's right here, as you're seeing them, we were deploying this on a headset, on a VR headset, on the MetaQuest 3, and the MetaQuest 3 had absolutely no issue rendering this. There was no lag, there was no like spikes or anything, because again, it's not that much. It's just 6,000 triangles. Okay, so don't be poly count phobic. Be mindful about where and why we need to use or have certain poly counts, but don't again stress too much about it. Okay, let's see. It should also be noted there is a quad option for meshing marbles if you prefer that. I know I do. Yeah, there is one. As you mentioned, it's not perfect, but it does the work. Especially if you're doing things like, I don't know, curtains, or if you're doing like tablecloths or things like that, then it works quite nicely. But yeah, as you can see, guys, like we have this neck piece right now, and that's perfect. Like eventually, if I was to do retopology for this guy, like that guy right there, it's just gonna be retopologized, of course, and all of that detail is gonna be baked down into a normal map, and it's gonna look great inside of a game. So I'm gonna keep that one. I'm probably gonna be doing a couple of more right here on the arms eventually, but right now I want to do something a little bit more complex. So what about we do some pants for this character? Okay. So let me save this real quick. I don't want to have any issues later on. So let's save this real quick. And let's see if I missed any question. I was wondering, just out of curiosity, since I've never done this before when it comes to armor, do you sculpt the shape in Zbrush, create a low poly model in Maya to get everything sharp, and then go back to Zbrush to add details? That is correct, Kosialk. That is personally the pipeline that I like to use. There are some people who prefer to do the low poly in Maya, have really clean elements, and then just bring it into Zbrush. I find myself working faster if I do something like this. So this armor right here, we sculpted this last time. As you can see, it's a mess, but I can work with this mess, right? Like I can take this into Maya, retopologize it. Actually, I can actually retopologize it here inside of Zbrush. I'll probably do that in a couple of hours. But I can work with this thing here, and then just like subdivide it, give it a little bit more thickness, whatever, and go to the next level. Okay, so yeah. What's the difference between modeling and sculpting? Sai, that's one of the best questions we've gotten asked today. So modeling, when you think about modeling, you usually think about something called box modeling, right? So 3D box modeling was the way everyone used to do things back in the day, right? So if you wanted to model, let's say, for instance, a hand, you would do this. You would start with a box, a cylinder, very few polygons, very few elements, and you would start sort of like shaping this, subdividing, smoothing things out, and creating this. This was the way things were done. I learned that when I started 3D, I started 3D in 2011. So when I learned 3D, this is the way we did this. Like, this is how you would model a hand back in the day. It was horrible. It was very, very complex, very, very tricky. However, people still do this. There are certain assets where box modeling is easier than sculpting. So for instance, one of the exercises that I give my students when we're working on like the introduction to Maya class is to model a fire hydrant. This is like an excellent model to practice your principles about like proper subdivision modeling. And it's a great asset. It's something that you see in games all the time, right? And it's very challenging, but at the same time very cool to figure out the best approach to do something like this. So if I was doing something like this, or if I was doing something like this, there's absolutely no reason why I would do this inside of Zbrush. Like, I can, there are tools inside of Zbrush to be able to do this, but I see no reason to do that when you can just traditionally box model, which you can also box model inside of Zbrush, by the way. But anyway, this would be my approach, right, for things like this. For characters, however, like imagine I tell you to do a dragon, right? So if you're trying to do a dragon with box modeling, which again, people used to do this back in the day. Let's see if we get like a little example here. Yeah, it's a little bit closer to like something like this, right? Like imagine getting this amount of detail doing box modeling. It's impossible. You're not going to be able to do it. So that's where sculpting comes into play. So for things that are a little bit more organic, for things that are a little bit more intense, that's where sculpting is going to give you more control. And you're going to be able to then use this to transfer, to project it into a low poly or whatever. And someone is saying this here, Mrs. Carrion Sora says, the Game Wizard 101 still uses box modeling. Yeah, here's the thing. In 3D, and this is very important, Alan, we should make a short about this, by the way. In 3D, there's not necessarily a right or wrong way to do something. Do you want a box model? Box model. Do you want to sculpt? Sculpt. Do you want to use, I don't know, voxel sculpting? Go for it. Photogrammetry? Go for it. Like, any of the techniques and tools that you have to your disposal are perfectly fine in 3D. Do you want to retopo inside of Maya, inside of Topogon, inside of Zbrush, inside of any other software? Go for it. There's not specifically one thing that works or doesn't work. Certain tools have advantages, certain tools have disadvantages. If you're working in a studio, they might have some tools available to them, or they might not have some of the licenses. So your job as a 3D artist is not necessarily to it's not necessarily to always use the exact same tools, is to be able to adapt the fundamental concepts of 3D into whatever tool you have at your disposal. Right now, for instance, we're using Marble Designer and we're getting some really cool results, right? But if I don't have Marble Designer and I need to create something similar, I should be able as a 3D artist to figure out a way to either box model something like this, or simulate something like this inside of Zbrush, or sculpt it by hand, right? Or find a way to do it in the real world and again scan it with photogrammetry. Like, there's a bunch of different ways to get to the same result. At the end of the day, your client, the studio, the client or whatever, they care about making sure that the final result is as good as possible. Okay, let's see. Am I afraid of AI? No. Now, we've had that conversation before. I actually did a video last week. In case you want to check it, it's on the YouTube channel, and we talked about like the current situation of the, was it last week? Yeah, it was last week, right? I think it was last week. I'm pretty sure it was last week. It's called, it's just my opinion on the current state of the industry. There are things that are definitely like changing and scary in the industry, but I'm not scared of AI, no. Okay, so I'm gonna clone this thing right here so that we can work on just the body. And of course, I cannot take 2.3 million polygons into Marvelous to work with this. So I'm gonna go to C plugin first, decimation master, and we're gonna decimate this to. We don't need that much geometry. We just need the silhouette. So even 75k triangles is gonna be more than enough. Okay. Fun fact: most of 4-ish characters were modeled fully in Maya box modeling. Oh wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Again, box modeling is perfectly fine. It depends on what you. It depends on what you want, right? On what you're how. It depends on how comfortable you are with specific tools or with specific pipelines. Give me 1 second here. Okay. 1 second, guys. One second, one view. One second. One second. There you go. Okay, so let's see. Spotlight, grid model. Spotlight is your friend. Yeah, Spotlight is really good. If we use an object made from brush, do we need to retopo them, or we just? It depends. Like if you, that's a great question. So for instance, let's imagine I want to be quick about this one right here. I cannot take this into Maya and rig it. It's gonna break. Like the topology here is not proper, and that's why knowing again the foundations of 3D is so important, because this topology right here works or is very cool for details, but it's not good for animation. Like if I try to animate this or rig this, it's gonna completely break. However, if I were to go, let's say for instance, to geometry and serial mesh, and I just serial mesh this thing real quick, this topology that we're gonna get, it's a little bit better. So if I were to take this topology into Maya and rig it, you could definitely rig this. Is this the best topology ever that you could get for this particular character? Not necessarily. There might be a couple of spirals or things like that that are gonna be complicated for me, but in general, it's better than this. So yes, technically you can take the topology from Zbrush, and as long as it's clean enough, you can do UVs and you can do other things with it. But normally, yes, you, especially for games, you are going to be going through a retopology process. Okay, so let's export this now. Let's call this body reference, because we're going to be bringing this into Marvel's Designer to add some pants to him, like space pants or something like that. So this one, let's save in case we ever need it. And let's open a new project. Again, file, we're going to say import. We're going to import an FBX. And we're going to import the body reference. It's going to be very small. I already know it's going to be very small. And that's because the scales are not uniform right now. When I started doing this alien a couple of weeks ago, I did not... what's the word? I did not like properly set up my scales. I usually do that after I finish the high poly. But in this case, since we're going to be, again, working with something like this, it will be important to do it. I'm just going to add a 0 to this. So add a 0 there, add a 0 there, and of course, add a 0 here. So I'm literally multiplying this by 100, right? And I'm going to push it up. And this is where we're going to be building the character. Okay. Let's see. Dynamics in Zbrush works in a weird way. Marvelous is so much better. Yeah, dynamics in Zbrush, they're good. They're good. They're cool. There's a very cool trick here. I saw it on a reel. I don't remember who did this reel. I'm sorry, but credit to the artist that came up with this like solution. It was a very cool one. Well, it's not a solution, but it's what's the word? It's a nice use of some tools here inside of Zbrush. So if you're doing like monsters and things like that, and you want to do like saliva, right? Or any sort of like slimy thingy, you can use the Zbrush brush. So the Zbrush is a tool that we have here inside of Zbrush. It works very easily. You just mask one side of the element, and then you mask another side of your element. Invert the mask so that we have those like open areas, and then you go here to Zbrush. And if you click Zbrush, what's going to happen is it's going to connect both elements with a there we go, with that thing right there. I actually think I need to invert this. There you go. So we select the mask area, we select another mask area, we click Zbrush, and what this thing should do is boom, it creates a capillary connection between the two elements, right? So the amount of bridges, the amount of branches and everything are controlled with this guys right here. If we reduce the branches, we reduce the branches, we reduce the capillaries, and we do it again, right? We're gonna have way less effects. But then what he showed, and it was very clever, I never thought about using it that way, is he masked the elements. So if you mask the elements, like those like capillaries that we just created, like this, and invert the mask, and then you go to dynamics and then run the simulation, those things are gonna fall. And you're gonna get a very sort of like nice organic like thread element. So pretty cool, right? Again, this kind of like specific use might be a little bit niche, but it's one of those things that that are very cool. I hate TikTok Live. I don't hate you guys. If you're in TikTok, I don't hate you, but this thing is telling me that I'm like not moving enough or something. What does it want me to like dance or something? I don't know. Do you still want me on TikTok or no? I'm streaming right now on Twitch, and I'm streaming on YouTube as well. So yeah, this little like again like technique is pretty cool. Okay, let's see. Let's now go back here. Okay, cool. So let's start thinking about the pants here for the character. I think I want the pants to go to this part of the calves only. So we can start thinking about the patterns. So for the patterns, I'm gonna start with I'm gonna do the polygon one, and I'm gonna do the front of the pants here, going to like the knee. I do want them to be a little bit puffy, so I'm gonna do something like this. We're gonna need a belt to hold the pants. I'm gonna create a belt right here, and then I'm going to do something. I'm just gonna copy and paste this. It's gonna be the back side of the belt. So let's just rotate this around, have it here. There we go. Push this in. I'm gonna freeze this for just a second so that we can focus on this one right here, and this other one. So let's sew. We're gonna sew from here to here, and from here to here. There you go. So that's gonna give me the belt. That's where the pants are going to start. Okay. Now stop the simulation. Let's go back to this one. Control K, and I'm gonna do a copy and a mirror paste. So that right there is gonna be one leg of the pants. This one's gonna be right around there, and this one is of course going to be on the other side, right? Let's see. How did you learn cloth making in Marvelous? Was it just yes? And that's actually one of the things that we cover on the Marvelous course, because I realized when I was learning Marvelous that the more you knew about how cloths were made in the real world, the better your stuff was gonna look inside of Marvelous. That's just how it is, because every single like principle about patterns and about like specific seams and specific stitching and specific cuts, every single thing that you can learn from the real world like sewing can be applied to Marvelous. So yes, one of the ways I learned about, like, of course I had to learn about the tools, and to do that I personally really like reading like documentations and of course watching like tutorials and stuff like that. But most of the ideas behind like this processes, I feel like you can learn if you what's the word? If you study how patterns are made in the real world. So there you go. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this, guys. I'm gonna do a symmetric pattern with sewing. That's gonna be the other leg. There you go. See that? So we already get the other leg right there, and that should make it a lot easier for me to just sew from here to here and sew from here to here. Now we simulate, and we got pants, or well, the beginning of the pants, right? We're starting to get something similar to what pants are going to be on this character. Not bad, right? Not bad. Now, what I'm seeing here, we're definitely missing a lot of like a butt area. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go to this part right here with the butt, and I'm probably going to have to give it a little bit more volume. Oh, that's not the one. It's this one right here. I'm going to give it a little bit more fabric there. And we might need actually to change the form of the pattern here. So what I'm going to do is, actually, let's try just moving this point around. Is that the point that I want? No, that's giving me like weird backs. We need to go to, I'm guessing it's this point then. So I'm gonna go here to add point. I'm gonna add a point right there. Let's see if adding more volume there is gonna help. Yes, perfect. As you can see, that's giving me more volume there on the back side of the character. Probably gonna need a little bit more. There we go. And now let's sew that together. So let's sew this thing to this thing. Okay, okay, it's getting there. It's not exactly what I want. It feels like I'm missing one. Let me go back here, because it seems like I'm missing one specific border here. This border. So let's try using segment sewing here instead. There you go. This is the segment that I needed to sew. Perfect. That's it. That's now closing the pants. Right? Much better. And we're actually covering the little tushy right there. See, again, this thing is That's funny. Look at this. Oh my god. It says, your live is not eligible for recommendation and restricted in search results because your live does not comply with the For You feed eligibility standards under our community guidelines. Reason, nudity and body exposure. Wow. Really? Really, TikTok? Because I've seen the kind of stuff that the freaking TikTok can show to people, right? And you are like restricting this because it's nudity? My god. That's so stupid. It's weird. I've never gotten that warning on like Twitch or freaking YouTube. It's so weird that we're getting it on TikTok. Whatever. Let's see. Can you use like a mirror modifier in Marvelous? No, there's no mirror modifier. There's no mirror modifier. Okay, now we need to attach this to the top here, and I'm just gonna make it a little bit simpler for me. So I'm just gonna add middle points here. So I'm just gonna split, and let's do uniform split 2. Okay, same for this one. Split, uniform split 2. There you go. You need to put 18 and over when you start your live. But this is not nudity, man. Like, what the hell? This is not nudity. Like, there's no way the algorithm can see that this is an alien, right? Like, wow. Like, it's just ridiculous. And again, I'm telling you, like, I've seen what people are doing on TikTok every now and then. It's horrible. You're just scrolling, minding your own business, and you get, like, this super raunchy thing. So it's like, what the hell, man? And we can't do like an alien creation because it's nudity? Nah. There you go. So now we've successfully created the belt there for the character, right? I always do 18 plus, but there's still warning, so it doesn't work. It has to do with their it's weird. Whatever. That issue about nudity is happening to a lot of 3D artists. It's the new AI bot updated most socials, it seems. Really? I mean, I haven't gotten a warning or anything on the what's the word? On the on any other like social. See, this wouldn't have happened if you hadn't cut your hair. Now everyone sees you as the sex bomb you are, and TikTok can't handle it. Oh well, not much I can do about that. Now I was already getting a little bit stressed about my hair. It was way too long. Hi, I noticed that Substance Painter does not have 3D blur. What is the workaround for this? Unfortunately, there's no workaround because remember, Substance Painter is still a layer-based system, right? It uses layers, and anything that you do is baked down to a layer. So you can have 3D blur if you're working with layers that are 2D. That's just the nature of it. So you can try doing a little bit of triplanar mapping. You could try, like, yeah, it's like there's no easy, unfortunately, there's no easy workaround for that. Now let's do the next part here. So first I'm gonna do a little bit of something that's gonna hold the pants together here on the bottom part. So I'm gonna use again another rectangle here and do something like that. I think that the proper name for this thing is like a cuff, right? I'm gonna do something like that. I'm going to copy and mirror paste. There you go. So this thing is gonna go here on the bottom section of the foot, and this thing is gonna go here, on the top section of the foot. What am I missing? Cousin, primo, Drew cousin, there you go. How do you deal with camera controls between all the programs you use? I find myself fumbling with the camera between. So most softwares will allow you to change the preset of the cameras to something that you're used to. I think Marbles has that. So if you go here to where was it? And settings, and then preferences, and then you go to view controls. There you go. So as you can see here on view controls, I've set mine to Maya. That way I'm moving the way I normally move in Maya. That's the one that I'm very used to, and it just works, right? So most softwares will have an option to change that kind of stuff. So for instance, Marmoset, same stuff. In Marmoset, you can go to edit, preferences, and I believe there is a way to change that. Was it? No? Edit hotkeys? No, I don't think this one has it. But most softwares have the option to change it so that it moves the way that you're used to. So, but yeah, other than that, like, you just need to learn them. So for instance, when I'm jumping from, let's say, Maya to Blender, yeah, I get confused a little bit, but after a couple of minutes, once you've done it for enough years, it becomes sort of like second nature. But yeah, it's annoying. It's annoying that you have to learn so many. Is Marmoset a monthly payment one, or is it pay own? It's you can do both. So you can rent it, right? I think it's like $30 per month if you rent it, or you can buy a perpetual license. I personally bought my perpetual license. I've been a Marmoset user for a very long time, and yeah, it's that's what I like to use. But if you want to just pay for a month or something, you can also do it. There you go. Okay, so those are definitely a little bit too big. That's fine. We'll leave it like that for now. And now we're gonna create another polygon here. So let's do a polygon, and it's gonna be. I want to make it so that it's like very close on the top to the pants. It's like that, but I do want it to make it a little bit thinner on the bottom section. There you go, something like that. This one is gonna be this area right here, and I made it long enough because, as you guys can probably imagine, this thing is gonna have to attach to the top part of the pants. So I want to have enough room here on the bottom section. Okay. Putting up marbles right now. I need to use Blender Cam. I can deal with the substance one. There you go. Profe, as a student, do we know a project is it too ambitious? How do we know a project is too ambitious or less ambitious? That's a great question. So I have a video about how to pick a project, right? But it should usually be fairly obvious to you whether a project is really ambitious or not, right? So I've mentioned this before, for instance, for character artists, right? So if you look for a character concept, right? Character concept art. And you see a concept that has a bunch of different props, like for instance, something like this. It looks amazing. That's a great character. It's a freaking amazing character. This is not a character that I would give someone that's just starting as a character artist. Like, you're not going to be able to do this because you need to have a lot of different skill sets and a lot of different knowledge to be able to pull something like this, pull off something like this, right? However, again, if you're just starting and you do want to do a character, maybe something like this is a little bit more approachable. In this case, for instance, you would need a little bit of Marvel Designer to be able to do all of the clots. Maybe you do something like this. Again, a little bit less props, a little bit less intense, stuff like that. A great concept that I always tell, if you want to be a character artist and you want to start your character journey, do a goblin. Goblins are like so fun and relatively easy to do because they usually don't have a lot of stuff, right? So even doing something like this, it might not be a portfolio piece. Like, you might not be able to get it to that level, right? But it will teach you a lot of stuff. And then once you've done your first goblin, for instance, or your first orc or whatever, then you jump to something that's a little bit more complex or a little bit more ambitious. That's how you learn. Now, you are gonna learn the bad way, right? Like, you're gonna learn by picking a concept and then realizing, oh, this is way over my pay grade. So this is like way too difficult. That's normal. Don't worry. Like, that happened to me when I was started. I remember I wanted to do like a dragon, and it was one of the first like Zbrush sculpts that I did, or I tried to do, which was a dragon. It looked like shit. It looked completely wrong. It was like so bad. And that's when I realized, like, okay, yeah, this was a very ambitious project. So it's something that you are going to learn, something that you're gonna realize once you start like working in 3D. But it should be fairly obvious with some elements whether something is like very complex or not, right? So if you see like a really crazy silhouette, that's probably a little bit too intense for you at the early stages, right? If you want to go for it. Like, you're gonna learn something. Even if you fail, you're still gonna learn some like important information. Just keep in mind that, yes, it's going to be again a little bit tricky at first, right? So let's sew this right here. And let's sew this right here. There you go. And let's sew this right here. And then let's sew this right here. There you go. Now I'm going to grab this pattern and this pattern, right click, symmetric pattern with sewing. The weekend, the other side, and as you can see, all of the sew lines and everything are already where they need to be. So technically, if I simulate, this should simulate perfectly fine. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now we got our nice little like pants here for our character. Now they're a little bit too skin tight right now, right? But it's getting there. It's getting there. Right now they kind of look like leggings. Let's see. What program is this? Marble Designers, it's free? No, it's not free, but we do have a free code that you can use right now to learn it. It's a 1 month full like a trial, and we're doing this for everyone who's joining the competition. So if you are joining the competition that we have on our channel right now, you can go here to the event rules of the element, and we have a secret code that you can use to redeem a full free month of marbles and use it for your characters for the competition. So the redemption guide is right here. That's the code right there, and you can use it to, well, start learning marbles. So yeah, this is the perfect time to learn the software. One problem I have is I don't know how to merge my models at the finishing point of my projects in Zbrush. What do you mean merge them? Do you mean for retopology, or do you mean for like 3D printing? Because there's different reasons why you might want to merge your elements, and it depends. Like depending on what you want it for, you're gonna get a slightly different result. Okay, now what do I want to do with this? I want to make them a little bit baggier. So there's a couple of ways to make something a little bit, well, in this case, baggier. One of them is making the patterns bigger, right? The more fabric we have, the baggier things are going to be. So I'm going to make them a little bit bigger. There you go. Going to start giving me a little bit more wrinkles. So I really like that sort of like effect that we're doing right there. Another way to do this is with the weft and waft that we talked about. Weft and waft. Sounds very funny. But yeah, weft and waft is this property right here. So if we make this a little bit looser, if I do 120 and 120 here, we're gonna relax the clothing a little bit more, and as you can see, we're gonna start getting way more wrinkles. So the cloth's gonna be less. This is like the tension that is between the fibers. So I know this is a little bit more technical, but if you think about how cloth is made by interweaving different threads, right? Like you have like very thin lines, and you sort of like mix them together. The more tension there is between them, the more rigid the cloth is going to be. It also depends on what kind of fabric or thread you're using, right? It's not the same to be doing something with silk that is to do it with wool, that is to do it with, I don't know, like any other like element right there. But if you increase or if you reduce the tension between those, then the cloth is going to be a lot looser, like what you're seeing right here, which is what I want. I kind of want to make this look a little bit more like, have you seen the freaking astronauts suits, right? Where there's like a lot of wrinkles in all of the space. So that's what you want. What is the difference between your Marvelous course on your site and Udemy? The one on my site is more up to date. The one that I did on Udemy with another company that we cannot pronounce, those who shall not be named, that one's older. I did that like 5 years ago, I think, or maybe 6 years ago. I don't remember exactly. And the one from my side is a lot more recent, so it has more recent tools. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm way more proud of the one that I did for my site because I had more creative control and I was able to teach more of the stuff that I actually wanted to teach. On the other one, unfortunately, there were other factors at play that didn't allow me to make the course exactly the way I wanted to make it. So yeah, if you want the most up-to-date information and the most sort of like foundational information, the one on my site's gonna be better. Is that how would you make a more dense cloth like denim? It's one of the ways you would do it. Another way or another thing that you can do is grab, for instance, all of the pieces here. And if we go to the fabric properties here, there is a way to change. Right now, this is just a basic element. But if I change the custom here, there's a way to change this to like denim. So where's denim? There you go, denim. So if I change this to denim, the physical properties of the cloth are going to change, and they're going to behave a little bit more like denim. So you can both change this on the like simulation properties of your element with the waft and the warp and everything like that, or you can change the physical properties of the fabric. Those are the two ways that you can sort of like modify these things. Sparrow TV says, I gotta try that marble sometime. Dude, you can try it right now. I was mentioning we have this secret code right here that you can use, and you get one free month of the software. It's for people who are working on the competition and want to use Marvelous for their characters. But yeah, here we go. There you go. It's a little gift from our friends at Marvelous. What part of the whole workflow of characters creation is the most difficult for me? Oh, that's a great question. What is the most difficult part of the process for me? Yeah, you guys can find this code again on the event, Call to Adventure, event rules. It's right there. So one full free month of Marvelous to use for your characters. What is the most difficult part for me? Damn, I don't want to sound pretentious by saying this, but there's no stage right now, after doing this for 15 years, that I find complicated. I can tell you when I was starting out, UVs were something that I really struggled with. Retopology was another thing that I was really like bad at. But now I feel quite confident with most of the stuff that I do. I guess a little bit of hard surface. Like I don't want to say I'm not good at hard surface, because I do consider myself to be good at it, but I don't do too much hard surface. I do more organic stuff like muscles and skin and like characters, cloth, like that kind of stuff. I don't do a lot of like robot things. So if you give me like a really complex sci-fi concept, I can struggle a little bit, and it can take me a little bit of time to really get the shape to work or to look the way I want. But it's not something that I would say I have a really hard time with, right? What do you dislike the most? That's a good question as well. Man, it's another one of those complicated questions. The thing is, a lot of people dislike, for instance, retopology, right? Like they hate retopology. I don't mind it. I actually really like retopology. It's one of my favorite parts of the process, to be honest. But I understand why people might feel not aggravated or something, but they might not like it as much, right? I think the whole like baking process, again, it's not that I hate it, but it's very slow, it's very tedious, it's very technical, you need to check everything. So I like every part of the process, but that one I find it a little bit boring sometimes. For 3D print, I use merge all and then testimate. But for example, for game or animation, I don't know how I should merge. I mean, I have retopology, how to... Yeah, you need to retopologize the whole model, and you're going to merge things depending on how the character is going to move. So for instance, here, right? If I know that the character is going to have the pants and then the legs, and I know that there's not a scene or not a part of the game or the experience where the pants are going to come off, right? Like he's going to change armor or whatever. In that particular situation, I might just like combine everything into a single mesh. But for instance, if we go back here to Zbrush and we take a look at the character, the armor, that's something that I would probably keep a separate piece, right? Like the shoulder pads, definitely keep them as separate pieces, because I want to be able to animate them and move them in a slightly different way. So yeah, 15 years seems like a better age of 3D. Yeah, usually, again, I don't like using titles like because they can be very subjective, right? But yeah, usually after, let's say, 5-7 years of doing 3D, you are technically considered a senior, just because you've been doing this for so long, right? So I've been like around for a while. Let's see. I can say I need to practice Retopo thoroughly. It's very fun. I have a course about that as well, in case you want to like learn a little bit more about it. This one we did with our friends from Topocon. So this one covers everything that you need to know about retopology for your different assets. What is the solution? What do you think is the solution to losing that fear of or being overwhelmed? Fear of what? Fear of failure? Fear of like messing up or not doing things the way you want? What specific fear are we talking about, Liz in LOD? Because overwhelmed, you're gonna feel overwhelmed. Like that's very common, and it happens all the time. Like feeling overwhelmed is not a bad thing. De nada, laberinto. Aquí andamos. So feeling overwhelmed is perfectly normal, I would say. You need to figure out a strategy for yourself, like what works for you. For instance, in my personal case, When I was younger, sounds like I'm super old now, but when I was a little bit younger, right, I used to work very good at nighttime. Like I was a night owl, right? Like I would start like recording my courses at 10 p.m. and I would go all the way to like 1 a.m. Just working on it because that's when I had the energy. Now I don't. I can't have a kid. I'm married, so it's a lot more complicated to be able to find that kind of like time to do that at this point in my life. So in order for me not to feel overwhelmed, I had to find another strategy. So now my strategy is I try to make my mornings and afternoons as efficient as possible. So I work from 9 a.m. to like 4 p.m. as efficiently as possible so that I can have the afternoon a little bit more free. I normally get to, I take care of my kid during the afternoon because that's when my wife works. So we found the balance, right? And that's how I feel or try to help myself to not feel overwhelmed. But it's very common. It's very, very common for overwhelmness to affect you. Trying to have no distractions. Yeah, it's another important one. Yeah. Okay, so now here I want to show you a cool thing. I want to add a little bit more detail on the sides. Have you seen those characters where there's like some padding on the outside? So this is a little bit more advanced. If you've never used Marbles, this might be a little bit too much right now. But I'm gonna try to keep it simple for you guys. I'm going to go here and I'm going to add an internal polygon line. And I'm going to start, let's say, right around here, 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 and here to create this sort of like polygon. There you go. So you guys can see, oh, actually, this is the wrong one. It's on this side right here. So it's going to go here, 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 and let's go like right there. Hit enter. There you go. As you can see, we get that like very interesting section line on the inside of the element. And then what I can do is I can go to the other side, which is going to be this side right here. And I want to see where this point is. Let me see if I can do it here. Can I do internal polygon line on 3D? That would be great. No. But what I can do is I can figure out where that point is. And I'm going to continue doing something similar. Gonna be like right around there. There you go. So not exactly there, but close enough right there. I do feel like this is a little bit too big, so I'm gonna modify this point. There you go. And this one I'm also gonna move a little bit higher up. There you go. We have that sort of like rhomboid shape right there, and this one needs to go a little bit lower. There you go. Perfect. That meets. So as you can see, now we have those like interesting pockets here on the side, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab those pockets right there. Those lines. I'm going to do something called cut and sew. So what this will do is it will cut the lines from the object and it will sew the pattern back together. Cut and sew. There you go. See that right there? So now we have these two patterns on both sides and they're generating this like interesting line right here. And what I want to do now is I actually want to grab this lines right here, which is where we have an interesting cut, right? All of these ones. And I actually want to merge them. So I'm going to right click. I'm going to merge. So now we have a new pattern that came from the original pattern, as you can see right there, right? And it's filling in that specific area of the character. So we have it's kind of like if we did an intervention, like a surgery right there, and we created that sort of like diamond pattern that we have right there. Do I always have to manually move it to align it with my base mesh? No, there's different ways to do it. If your scale is properly set up from Zbrush to from Zbrush to Marvelous, you should not need to move it. In this case, because it's not, it is going to have a problem. Mirmidon says, "Hi Ave and all, picking up 3D Code Textura today. Your fish painting video convinced me. Hope everything is having a good day." Oh, that was a great one. I had so much fun doing that that project. Oh, that was almost 2 years ago, I think. Oh no, last year. So yeah, this is a fun one. If you want to go even deeper into the hand painting process technique, I think it's probably like, if it's not my favorite course that I've ever done, it's probably one of my favorites. It's this one right here, the hand painted 3D character for games. So this is the full pipeline, and we do the pirate. So on this one, we go through modeling, sculpting, retopo, rigging, like everything to do this pirate right here by the amazing Labros Panosis. Yeah, it's just one of my favorite courses. So if you really want to go through the whole thing, this one's gonna help you quite a bit. It's on my backlog, once I can afford it. Your UV workshop. Yeah. So for those of you that are new to the channel, we have 2 free workshops. These are free courses that I make for you guys. One of them is this UV mapping workshop, and the other one is at the very bottom, which is the portfolio presentation workshop. These are like 2-hour courses, and you can use them to improve your 3D. So if you want to check it out, go for it. Hope says, "Oh, I didn't know Leal stream on Twitch." Yeah, TikTok, you mean? But yeah, Hoop. We've started doing it recently. Unfortunately, my stream seems to be restricted because apparently TikTok thinks that we are working with nudity here, even though it's an alien and there's no genitals or anything. But hey, that's how the algorithm works. Lisin LOD says, kind of like that blank canvas feeling, like being hesitant about trying a new software technique. I have a very cool mindset for that. Listen, and that's the. You need to give yourself permission to suck. It's just that. Like, the more you do something, the more you're going to learn about it and the more you're going to improve. But if you never actually try it, then you're not going to be able to improve, right? Like, that's just the reality of it. So if you give yourself permission to suck and leave that fear on the door, and it's like, hey, like, I literally do this to myself. Like, I open, let's say, my iPad and I want to practice like 2D drawings. I'm like, okay, I'm going to draw an apple. And I'm going to give myself permission to draw the worst apple the world has ever seen, right? So I'm already giving myself permission to do something that's going to be completely horrible. So at that point, even if it is completely horrible, it's like, well, yeah, that's what I gave myself permission for, right? But the moment you actually start like learning this or doing this 2, 3, 4, 5 times, by the time I'm making the 10th apple, right, it's definitely going to look better than the first one. So you need to give yourself permission to suck. You need to give yourself permission to fail. You need to give yourself permission to make mistakes on the learning process, okay? On the learning process. Once you're working with a client, that's a different rule set. You need to be really, really good. But yeah, when you're first learning a skill, when you're first learning anything, give yourself permission to suck. Just understand that it's part of the learning process. Like, that first thing, it's not going to be great. But the more you do this, the more you're going to fail. And I mentioned this the other day. I saw a quote about Roger Federer, you know, the tennis player. And they made a calculation of how many points he had lost on his career. And it was like 55% of the, or like 45% of the shots he ever like fought on the court were lost. 45%. That's almost half of them, right? So the difference is that extra 5%. The fact that he took so many shots and he played so much and he learned so much and he improved so much that's when you start like really like getting better and better and better. If you always open the software and it's a blank canvas and you're not really doing anything, you're not actually trying, you're not going to improve. That's just the reality of it. Okay? So that would be my advice. Like, try to what's the word? Try to leave that fear at the door, and don't worry about making a shot, even if you fail, right? Because just making the shot is already valuable. Just trying it is already valuable. Please launch your Zbrush course for beginners. It's already there, man. The Zbrush course for beginners is the only course. It's this one right here. Well, it's actually 2 of them. So we have this one, the Zbrush Stylist Characters, one of our best courses on the site. So that one's going to teach you ZBrush from zero. Like, if you've never used ZBrush before, first couple of chapters is all about like learning the basics of ZBrush, and then we do the full character. If you want to learn, for instance, ZBrush for iPad, which is also a great way to start your like ZBrush journey, we have this one, ZBrush for iPad 3D Sculpting Simplified, which is a little bit more exercise focused. So we do 5 different exercises, and each exercise is going to teach you some of the other tools. Dietamosh says, I'm taking the iPad course right now. There you go. You can give us your opinion then. Hopefully you're enjoying it, of course. There's also Gary Player, I believe, regarding golf. He was called lucky, and he said the more he practices, the luckier he gets. Yeah. It's all about it's all about like making sure you take a lot of shots. Like, the more shots you take, the better you're gonna get. Okay, here's a cool thing that I'm gonna do, guys. I'm gonna use the internal polygon line to create a polygon from here to here, and then I'm gonna create another polygon from here to here. And then I'm gonna select these 2 lines right here, and I'm gonna do a where is it? Offset as internal line. So I want to reverse the direction, and I want to add this thing right here. Let's do it. Let's do all. No, I don't want to offset. I want to like bridge. I want to create a. There we go. Distribute internal line as segments. Perfect. So we're going to do straight lines. We're going to do a couple of divisions, something like that. There you go, and hit OK. So as you can see, what we did right there is we created a uniform division from these lines to create this guys right here. The only thing I need to do now is I need to extend them to the border. So I'm going to go here and extend trim to pattern outline. Perfect. See that right there? We get that effect. And now, as you guys can probably imagine, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of this guys right here, and I'm also going to cut them and sew them. So I'm going to grab, cut, and sew. So what that's going to do is going to create a very nice, interesting, puffy pattern along the whole thing. Look at that. Beautiful, right? And we can take this pattern in the Zbrush, and that's going to give it a little bit of an extra detail to the whole thing. So it's a really, really cool way to, what's the word? It's a really cool way to add details without having to sculpt these details. Could we have sculpted these details, you know, with like some alphas or whatever? Yes, it's definitely possible. But I like to have the ability to do it here. And I'm going to show you a couple of extra things that I want to do. Let's see. How do we know when have the right scale? So if you take your element here inside of Zbrush and you take it into Blender or whatever, you're going to be able to see if it's way too small or way too big. By default, Zbrush tends to be very small, very tiny. So you're working like at small scales. So you can also use a scale master. I don't like using it as much because there's some like not buggy things, but I feel like sometimes it like messes the scales here. But if I go here to what's the word, to scale master, as you can see right now, it seems like everything's set to millimeters. That's why everything's like very, very small. So be careful with that. I'm already getting some messages here. Hey, 1 second, guys. I'm streaming. Don't send me a message when I'm streaming unless it's like an emergency. I don't think there's an emergency right now. Yeah, come on. There's one that's like, hey, how are you doing? I'm a little bit busy right now, my friend, but I'm doing great. If you're watching the stream, I'm gonna say hi. Says, I learned a lot of basics in the Rhino lesson. I'm trying to sculpt a Pikachu on my own right now. Awesome. Oh, they're tagging me about scam posts on Discord. David, if you're on Discord, could you check that out? Just ban them or whatever. How has AI affected your freelance career? That's a good question. That's actually a great question. So AI has affected my career the most on small clients, little clients, like the clients that had a small budget and would usually reach out to me when they needed some help on some, like, let's say basic stuff or simple stuff. That kind of work has dwindled. There's not a lot of work anymore because most people now are like, oh, I'll just do it with AI, right? And yeah, like it's the kind of stuff that they can definitely get away with AI. It's unfortunate, yes, it's unfortunate, but as I've said before, those are the kind of clients that you don't really want because usually they pay little, like the pay is relatively low. They're very picky. They're always like asking for a bunch of changes, and it becomes very, very difficult to work with those kind of like clients. So it hasn't really impacted me that much other than that. With small size clients. With big clients, we don't have that issue. Where's the last portfolio review video? Missed it on live and can find the lab section as well. So the portfolio videos are uploaded to a second channel that we have. It's called a Leal Clips on YouTube, and we split every single portfolio into its own individual video so that we give the artists more attention. So you're gonna be able to find those there. Okay, so now we're at the point, I think, where we can do something fancy here. So what I'm going to do is I want to add a little bit more volume to the whole thing, right? Like to the pants and everything. I want to make it a little bit more realistic. I want to get some more interesting seam lines. So I'm going to grab all of this guys right here, all of the pants. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the particle distance. Not too much. I don't think we need to go all the way to 5. I'm going to go to 10. And by going to 10... that's going to give me like cleaner, smoother, what's the word? Cleaner, smoother, like folds and fabrics, right? Like all of these things right there. As you can see, they're looking quite nice. And then what I want to do is I do want to give all of this guys right here a little bit more of a puffy feel. So I'm going to grab this patterns right here. Should be on both sides. Just make sure I'm grabbing all of them. And this ones, I will give a smaller particle distance. So I'm going to go to something like a 5. right? Why? Because the more particle distance, the more points, the more detail I'm going to be able to have on those pieces. So as you can see, they're going to be, if we take a look at the wireframe here, those are going to be a little bit smaller. I might even go smaller there, to be honest. So let's go to like 2 particle distance. So I'm going to go particle distance 2. We'll slow. Yeah, I know. So now simulation, it's going to give me a lot more detail. And now what we can do is we can do what we talked about with the waft and the weft to reduce the intensity of these things, right? So I'm going to go on like 150 and 150. And that's going to change how those behave. Not really what I want, though. We're going to have to go back. I'm going to show you a different technique with this one, just with this ones. It's going to be a little tricky to do this on the, or to bring this back into Zbrush, but bear with me, guys. You're going to like this. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to grab this, guys. I'm going to bring the particle distance back to like 10. We don't need too much for this layer because this is going to be a lower layer. We're going to have 2 layers here. So I'm going to grab this, guys, right here. Set this to 10. There you go. That's going to go back to a more normal particle distance. And we need to change. Thank you, Gamji, for the sub, man. What was I doing? Yeah, let's change this back to 120. And 120. There you go. And then what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do something called a layer. So I'm going to grab all of this, guys, right here. Right click, and I'm going to do something called layer clone over. What this will do is it will create a new layer that's literally going to be sitting on top of the previous layer right there. And then this new layer, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, just a tiny bit. All of this ones right here, I'm just going to make them a little bit bigger. Oh, can I? Oh, it's okay. That's fine. It's fine. So what that will do is it will give me the puffiness that I'm looking for. See that right there? That's what I want. And now this layer right here. How did we not get that on the other side? It seems like we didn't. So we're going to have to do the same on the other side. So this guy's right here. Right click, layer clone over. There you go. And now actually, I'm going to grab all of those guys right there. And all of those guys right here. I'm going to right click and I'm going to remove linked editing. So now they're separate from the other ones. And that now should allow me to make them a little bit bigger. And remember, the bigger things are, the more little like wrinkles we're going to be able to achieve. There you go. Look at that. Now that looks really interesting, right? Like puffy little elements. And these ones are the ones that I can change in terms of the particle density. So this one I'm going to say something like 5, right? Particle density. That's going to give me way more wrinkles, or a couple more wrinkles on those specific areas. Again, I know that's a little bit of an advanced little situation here on Marble Designer. But hopefully you guys can see how powerful that can be, right? Like without having to spend too much time on the element, we're able to get some like really interesting results. Any questions so far? Because we're about to jump back into Zbrush now. Then we can start adding a little bit more details on this thing inside of Zbrush. Let's see. Why also not keep the whole video in live section as well here as well? That was my best videos to watch here. Now I have to find individual ones one by one. Yeah, it's just a decision that we made to give people more opportunity, because I know that maybe you would watch the whole thing, but most people would just watch like the first 15-20 minutes of the video, and then everyone else at the end was being forgotten. So yeah. Clone under will give a nice puffy look. Yeah, well, clone under or clone over, both of them are going to give a really nice result. Cool. So now we need to take this into Zbrush. Let me just modify the wrinkles there a little bit. Now we need to take this into Zbrush. They're working on more details. Chef's kiss. Yeah, it looks very cool, right? It's very interesting right there. One more thing I wanted to do. I'm gonna grab this guys right here, the cuffs on the legs, and I am gonna turn on elastic. So what elastic will do, as you guys can imagine, is it's going to try to compress a little bit. Right? It's going to compress a little bit. It's going to give us a nicer, more interesting look. We got to be careful though. I don't want to have like super thin. Actually, let me turn it off for just a second. I want to have super thin like wrinkles, because then those wrinkles are very difficult to retopologize. So we're gonna be mindful about that kind of stuff. Whenever we're dealing with cloth, especially baked cloth, when we're gonna be baking this into a low poly, we gotta be careful not to overdo it. This one's definitely need a little bit more resolution. So let's change the particle distance to like 5. And the smaller the piece, the more particle distance I usually give them, so that we have a cleaner, tighter look, right? I think I'm gonna go back to the pants, and I'm gonna bring them back to 5 as well, so we have a smooth cloth effect. Oh god. Would you make an AI concept of that's what the client provided? Yeah, I did that. I unfortunately had that was a horrible situation. I've mentioned this story before. Last year I was approached by a client, and they wanted me to do something. They wanted me to they wanted me to sculpt something that was based on an AI concept. And I was like, hey, you know what? Like, I normally don't do that. I don't like doing that because it's very difficult to perfectly like match what the what the concept is asking for. And if I don't match it, then you're gonna be disappointed, right? Because, well, there's things on the AI that just don't work on the 3D world. And the client was like, yeah, I understand. Don't worry. Like, you can make some modifications and stuff. I worked with that client for 4 months. 4 months, every single week, sending them some like updates and some changes. And every single week, the client would bring back another AI concept. It was like, oh no, I actually want it a little bit more like this. I want it a little bit more like that. I want it a little bit more like this other concept that we have right here. And we could never match exactly what the client wanted. And it came to a point where I was like, hey man, you know what? Like, it's impossible for me to work this way because I just can't match your vision because you don't have a clear vision, right? Like, of course, I didn't tell the client that way. I just told him, hey, figure exactly what you want without any further changes. And once you're really sure of what you want, I can come in and do it. Because if you're changing the concept every single like week, it's going to be very difficult for me to match it. And I also told the client it's going to be very costly for you because I was charging for all of those revisions, of course. Like, I'm not stupid. So I was charging for all of those revisions. And yeah, it came to a point where it was very expensive for the client. And I mean, it was interesting because the clients did have quite a bit of money. So the client was like, I don't care. Like, let's just keep doing it. And it's like, hey, dude, like, it's just going to be really expensive for you. So just be very aware of what you want first, and then we can work together. And the client understood. They were like, okay, yeah, let me figure it out. And they didn't. So it's an unfortunate situation. My 15 days free license of ZBrush is over. Is it worth sculpting on Blender now? I mean, ZBrush is just way better in sculpting than Blender is, but Blender is perfectly valid for sculpting. Like, if you can't afford the license right now, then yeah, sculpting in Blender is perfectly fine. Let's append the sphere, grab the sphere, and let's bring in the pants. Pants are going to be huge, of course. There you go. Let's scale them down. This is the scale thing that we were talking about, right? So let's be mindful about that. There might be a little bit of like tweaking that we need to do. There you go. Awesome. So the only problem with cloth from the only problem with cloth from Marvel's Designer is that things might not be welded. So as you can see here, there's a couple of areas that are a little bit too low poly. We need to give them a little bit more, thickness or roughness or whatever. And there's a little bit of cleanup involved. Like, we need to clean this up a little bit, because as you can see, if I try to smooth things, everything gets destroyed, right? So we gotta be a little bit careful with that. I actually do want things to be separated. I find it gives me a little bit more control over the next like steps that I'm gonna be doing. But just keep in mind that can be an issue. One thing you can try to avoid that issue is to weld things together here. I actually deleted, if you remember, I just deleted some parts right here. That is why these elements are like now open. One thing I can try doing, let's see if it works. I'm gonna try geometry, and then I'm gonna do weld points. So I'm gonna go modify topology, weld points. I'm gonna increase the weld distance a little bit. There you go. That's a little bit better. See that? So it's now welding some of the points. So I can keep going here. There you go. So that pretty much solves my issue there with the welding issue, or with the welding elements. So now if I smooth things, as you can see, everything is like the same piece. A problem that I have, though, as you can see right here, is that welded option that I used removed the element. So I don't want that. I'm gonna go back a little bit here. I'm going to do an other groups first so that we have polygroups enabled. Now I can weld the points. So I'm going to weld the points right here. And now that padding is actually different polygroups, so I can use this to my advantage. What do I mean by that? What kind of advantage I'm going to be using? Well, I'm going to be using series measure. So I'm going to go here to subtool. I'm going to save a point here on the history. So save a point there. I'm going to, actually, before I do that, I'm going to smooth this thing out a couple of times. Oh, wait, it's not welded. Okay, there. Let's go there. Let's weld points again. Geometry, weld points. There you go. Now I'm going to subdivide this a couple of times to have like a smoother result on the mesh. And then I'm going to press Control Shift and click to save a story point right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a series measure, right? But on the series measure, I'm going to make sure that I keep the groups. That's going to be very, very important for the series measure. And that series measure is going to be failing. Series mesh just failed right there. Why? Why do you hate me, Zbrush? Why do you hate me? Why did it fail? Let's change that. Is that the adapt option? Okay, so there's an error somewhere on the geometry. We have a problem with the geometry, and that's why series meshing is failing. And I'm guessing it has to do with like some tricky areas there. Let's try going to modify topology. I'm going to go mesh integrity, and I'm going to fix mesh. The mesh is composed. Yeah, of course. Let's delete lower and fix mesh. No, I'm not going to save. I'm going to risk it. If this thing crashes, so be it. No, don't worry. It's not going to crash. Like, it usually doesn't crash with that kind of stuff. But yeah, let's save real quick. Let's save that real quick. There's a hole on the right leg. No, there's no hole. Like, that's just no... Oh, that hole right there. Yeah, that could be an issue. It shouldn't be an issue, though. That could be an issue. There you go. So you can see series mesh is now working. Ah! My God. Completely destroyed everything. That's unfortunate. Okay. You know what? I'm just going to Dynamesh. I'm just going to Dynamesh and polygroup everything. Or not polygroup. I'm just going to Dynamesh everything. There you go. So we're going to have to do a little bit of resculpting, right? That's normal. It's very, very common for cloth to have to go through some like a resculpting section. But as you can see, it's going to be a lot easier because we already have like the mesh working for us, right? So here, pretty much the only thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to give it a little bit more subdivision on the Dynamesh. That has happened to everyone at some point. When we do something like this, we Dynamesh, and then boom, we get that horrible situation. That's an issue with geometry. Usually what I do here is on the geometry section. So if you go to... Where's geometry? Modify topology. Let's close holes. And that usually fixes it. Yeah, there you go. There was like a weird hole somewhere, like making a mess. So here... Let's start like resculpting some of this like threads, right? Now this is the actual artistic part of the process, where we can just use what we had as a base, and we can start resculpting all of these details. This is the chill part of the stream where we just enjoy the process here. I'm going to show you a couple of techniques that we can do in just a second. But yeah, this is me adding like the seam line. This is something, by the way, that we could add in texturing. But again, if this is going to be for 3D printing, for instance, you definitely want to have it on the actual geometry, correct? There's some... what do you think about RenderMan? RenderMan's pretty cool. The only problem that I have with RenderMan is that the fact that it's a little bit pricey. So the only reason why you're going to be using RenderMan is if you're working in a studio or in a production house that uses RenderMan, right? So if you're working at Disney, of course, if you're working at Pixar, you're going to be using RenderMan. And it's really good. They do have a non-commercial version available. So if you're using projects that are, well, non-commercial, you're not making money out of them, you could potentially be using RenderMan. There was a time where I tried it and I used it for a little bit for some of my renders. And it's good. It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's good. But to be honest, like you can get, especially at an indie level, right? If you're working at small projects, you can get pretty much the same result with Arnold and with like cycles from Blender, right? even with Unreal and things like that. So there's, I would say as an indie artist or like as a freelancer, there's really no reason why you should be doing or using Renderman, paying for a license for Renderman, when there are other more affordable options, like again, like Arnold. I have not tried Octane Render. I think I tried it once, like a long time ago, but I have not tried it recently. And I know that it's free for Blender, right? Was it Octane or was it, I don't remember if it was Octane. Oh, wait, 1 second. Okay, yeah. That's a big issue. That's fine. We'll just... a big issue right now is the fact that I forgot to turn off symmetry. And of course, the pants are not symmetrical. So as you can see, the details that I'm adding over here are wrong. But that's fine. As Bob Ross used to say, those are like the happy little accents. We might find something interesting by doing that. Do you usually use only standard brushes for sculpting cloth? I have some alphas. I don't have them loaded right now. I think I had it on a previous version of Zbrush. But yeah, I try to keep things simple. But for instance, here's where we can start having a little bit of fun. So if I want to make this thing look a little bit more interesting, right? I can start adding or making this thing a little bit more puffy. So for instance, on the corners and some of the sides, you can start adding a little bit of extra detail. And wrinkles, remember, wrinkles are things that are going to push surface up, but they're also going to push surface in. Right? So I can start adding this kind of like detail. So this is where alphas could also be quite handy, right? Like if I had like an alpha pack right now to add this style like wrinkles, I was going to be adding extra texture. This is the kind of detail that I tell my students, don't worry about this until you have a good form and a good foundation, right? Because a lot of people start like sculpting cloth and they want to add like this micro details or micro wrinkles when they don't even have like some cool looking like pants in this case. And the problem with that is you're just adding detail that's not even going to be seen, because usually when you're like really far away from the camera, that kind of stuff you might not even see, right? So it's cool. It's cool to add this kind of like effects and wrinkles, but you gotta be working. Oh yeah, Radial C is really cool. That's from Pablo, right? Pablo Munoz. He that really cool tool. I do have it, but I haven't installed it, to be honest. Haven't installed it yet. So I know it's gonna be a little bit of a learning curve to get that working with my pipeline, and I just haven't had the time. Do you usually use Octane Render is free for Blender for both commercial and personal projects, so it has a few hardware limitations. Let me guess, you cannot use GPU. If you cannot use GPU, that to me is a deal breaker, to be honest. Hey, insist also possible to export the cloth with quads. Yeah, it is possible to export the cloth with quads out of marbles. There's a new option. I feel like it doesn't look as sharp or as clean with quads than it does with triangles, to be honest. That's why I prefer triangles still. But it is possible. It is possible. For instance, here I'm gonna push this in. And I like using trim dynamic and things like that to sharpen some of the wrinkles, right? Because wrinkles are sharp as well. It's not only like soft, bumpy effects. There's sometimes like other types of patterns. We still play with the primary, secondary, tertiary details, sort of like a process here. We don't lose that. On the topic of rendering, what is your thoughts on using UE5 for rendering? Or no, UE5 is perfectly fine. For instance, if you, especially, I mean, only if you want to be doing like game stuff, right? I mean, you can do live action things in Unreal as well. I worked on a project several years ago, a Diablo Immortal commercial that I participated. I was doing texturing for that project, and the fun thing was that all of the project was being rendered and done in Unreal Engine, so that was pretty cool. Like being able to see how people were using Unreal Engine to create all of those details was, for all of that like nice effects, was pretty nice. And the advantage, of course, of using Unreal Engine is the fact that, well, because it's a real-time engine, render times are really fast. Iteration is very fast, so you can experiment quite a bit with different like light situations, light conditions, and things like that. And you're not going to be impacting the pipeline, because at any point you can just re-render and it's really fast. When do we use triangles on character retopo? When the silhouette requires it. So if the silhouette needs you to have a couple of triangles, it's perfectly fine, because it allows you to capture the silhouette a little bit better. However, the only rule I have for triangles is try to avoid having triangles in high deformation areas, right? You're probably not going to have that on the face of the character. You want to try to avoid that. You're not going to have that on the elbow or on some of the fingers. Again, it's not a hard set rule. There are exceptions or other situations where having that kind of stuff might be good or necessary, but it's not always. Okay. Work for Blizzard? No, I did not work for Blizzard. I worked for a commercial that was being done for Blizzard. So I was hired by a studio that was doing a commercial for Diablo Immortal, and I worked on that commercial, but I have not worked for Blizzard. Rockstar says, good day, Abraham. Are you skilled into rigging and animation as well? I would love to see tutorials from you on this if you do any chance. Especially, I have some basic knowledge about that. Like, I wouldn't call myself a rigging or animation professional, but I've done animation. I've done rigging before for some of the things that we have here in the studio, for instance. But no, I wouldn't call myself a rigging expert. That's why I have not done a rigging course or something. I did a rigging course a long time ago. It was good. I think I covered some of like the good fundamental things. I have some rigging videos on the YouTube channel in case you want to like learn just the very basic foundational like understanding of the process. But yeah, again, I would not call myself a rigging artist. Are riggers highly sought out? They were several years ago. I'm not sure how the environment for rigging artists is nowadays, but several years ago, yeah, they were actually really sought out because no one wanted to do rigging. I feel like there's a lot of like new automation tools that have made rigging a little bit more approachable, especially for humanoid rigging. Like if you're doing humans or characters, you can get away with a lot of like automatic tools nowadays that are really freaking good. But for more specialized rigging, there's a lot of things about rigging. It's kind of like it's a very technical career, to be honest, because you still need to do a lot of like rigging for like machines or light rigs or vehicle rigs or like monster rigs, right? Like that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's tricky. That's complicated. Do we learn anatomy if we can get? Why do we learn anatomy if we can get character from MetaHuman? I saw mentors of Zombie Art School use base mesh to create portfolio. You learn anatomy because anatomy is going to allow you to create characters that are not just humans, right? So if you need to do like a troll, if you need to do like an orc, and the anatomy is going to be changing quite heavily, and you cannot get like a base mesh that's going to like create or give you exactly the result that you want, that's why you need to learn anatomy. Now, keep in mind that not every studio is going to have the licenses for things like character creator or for things like base meshes or things like that. So for those specific situations, that's why it's important to learn anatomy. And we also learn anatomy because we want to, again, master and understand the fundamentals of things. It's just that. There is a case to be made, though, about what you're saying. Like, hey, well, why... Like, I could ask you the same question. Like, well, why are we learning sculpting if we can just... like photogrammetrize every single thing, right? Like I just go to the thrift store, buy a couple of pants, buy some shirts, take pictures of myself, and use photogrammetry to rebuild all of that kind of stuff, and it's gonna look like really good. I'm probably gonna be doing a video about that soon. So why do we need to learn Marvel Designer at that point if we can just like scan clothing articles? And the answer is, well, because there might be a situation where you won't be able to scan clothing articles, and at that point, what are you gonna do? If you don't know the foundations of how cloth is built and how cloth is made, you're not going to be able to get a good result. Does that make sense? I hear grooming is a sought-after skill. It is. Like, I don't want to be quoted by saying, oh, become a groom artist and now you're going to land a job in the industry. Because, unfortunately, there's a bunch of other factors that play into this kind of like situations. But the more niche the skill is, yes, the more like sought after it might be in some scenarios, in some situations. Not always, not everywhere. Like not every single country is going to be hiring for that kind of like labor, right? That kind of like skill set. So it really depends. Hi Ave, do you recommend any artist or course that teaches how to rig a full character? There are a couple of courses from the No Monk Workshop. Don't remember the name of the instructor, It's a very technical course. I took it several years ago. It's like, it's dense, like it's really, really complex, but he knows his stuff. So that's a good course to go through. Again, I don't remember, but just look for rigging courses from the Nomon workshop, and those some of them are good. We do touch a little bit on rigging on the stylized pirate course that we do, because I show you the basics of rigging just to pose the character. But yeah, XGen. But here's the thing, like I saw the other day, I saw an artist that had some really cool grooming like skill sets. I saw his portfolio, and he was like, he couldn't land the job. It's like, oh damn. I'm writing through translation via Gemini. Can you answer my questions? I can. How common is it for some of the participants in your competitions to get approached by recruiters afterwards? I'm curious, since the newest competition has so many sponsors and eyes on it. That's a good question. To be honest, I hadn't had a student come to me like, hey, thanks to the competition, I was able to land a job. That hasn't, like, I don't have like evidence that has happened, but I wouldn't be surprised if some people would approach. Like, all of the sponsors told us, like, we really want to showcase the work of some of the people that are participating, because they're doing amazing things with the softwares, and hopefully, of course, that's going to help the softwares, and it's also going to help the artists, right? So yeah, it's a good question, though. If anyone has been on the competition and has been reached out, please reach out to me. I would love to sponsor you. Well, not necessarily sponsor you, but like feature you and say, hey, this person participated in one of our contests and now he's working. But I know a lot of my students throughout the years, like I've heard that, like people from have taken the courses and they're like, hey, thanks to your course and of course a bunch of hard work and other things, I was able to land a job. So I'm happy for that. Supposing my character is super high level quality, will I still not get a job in the industry? It's a tough question. Here's the realistic answer. I'm gonna try to be as transparent as possible. Having a great portfolio, like a great character, is the first thing that you need to have. It's kind of like buying a ticket, right, for the lottery. So if you want to, let's say winning the lottery is the equivalent to landing a job in the industry, which is not. Like, it's not like that hard. It is hard, but it's not that hard like winning the lottery, right? So in order to win the lottery, the first thing you need to buy is a ticket. You need to have a ticket. You cannot win the lottery, right, if you've never bought a ticket. I always find it funny when people say, oh, if I were to win the lottery, I would, I don't know, like travel the world, or I would invest in this or invest in that. It's like, have you bought a ticket? No. Why are you daydreaming about winning the lottery if you've never bought a ticket, right? So, no, the instructor was not Nick Miller from Rigging. I don't know Nick Miller, so I'm not sure if he's, like, if you're naming him, he's probably good, but no, it's not Nick Miller. I'll look it up in just a second, and I'll tell you exactly which one it is. Anyway, so in order to land a job in this industry, in order to be a part of a studio or cool projects and stuff like that, the first thing you need to have is a good portfolio. And that's something that I mentioned on the last video when we were talking about the state of the industry. Unfortunately, I do get a lot of messages every month and several like portfolio submissions every month where people are like, oh, I've been doing 3D for the past 2 or 3 years. I want to land a job in the industry and I haven't been lucky. And I take a look at their portfolio and the portfolio is not good. That's the unfortunate situation. Like, this is one of those industries where your portfolio needs to first be good before you can ask for an opportunity, right? And unfortunately, a lot of people tend to make this connection that if you spent a lot of time in 3D, that guarantees you, or that sort of like secures a place in a studio or in a project. And no, time is not a factor. It's important because, of course, if you've been doing this for a long time, then the odds of you being better or good should be increasing. But unfortunately, I've seen people who have been doing 3D for a while now, and their portfolio is just objectively not good. So if you don't have an objectively good portfolio, then the odds of you landing again a job in the industry are gonna be low. That's just the situation, right? But if your portfolio is good, then that gives you the first step towards it. Is it a guarantee that you're gonna land a job? No. Again, unfortunately, it's not a guarantee. There's other factors involved. Geopolitical factors. Where are you located? Can you move? Can you migrate? Is there an industry where you live? Are there opportunities? Are investors currently investing in the industry? Do you have connections? Are there anyone in your network that's currently working in a studio that could help you get an interview, or the sort of like the first foot on the door, right? All of those things right there are factors that are gonna influence your first couple of opportunities on the industry. But if you don't have a good portfolio, you're not gonna make it, man. You're just not gonna make it. That's the reality of it. So the first thing you need to do is a good portfolio. That's the first, like, that's your responsibility, I would say, as a Sparrow TV is saying here. Good portfolio in the right place at the right time by being everywhere all the time. That's exactly, that's like the formula, right? India actually are hiring character. Yeah, again, they are people hiring. There are job openings. I see that every day in LinkedIn, in Facebook. I see that in ArtStation. But there are people, I'm not saying you guys are, but some of you might be in a situation where you might have a wrong idea of what the base level is expected for someone right now. And I am going to give you, like, this might sound very harsh, what I'm about to say. You might have been fooled. You might have been told by an educational institution that just by having this bare minimum skills, you're going to land a job. And unfortunately, nowadays, that might not be good enough. You might need to study on your own. You might need to learn certain skills by yourself. You might need to invest on specific parts of the pipeline to learn some of those skills and be a better artist. Because I'm telling you, this is first-hand experience. I've worked with some universities. I'm not gonna say who, but I've worked with some universities that are not preparing their students properly. They're not giving them the necessary information. They're not giving them the necessary tools. And yes, you graduate after 3 or 4 years of an educational program, and you're very happy, and your parents are very happy because you got the degree or the title. But then you actually see I actually see the portfolios, and it's like, oh man, that's not good enough. I'm sorry. The school failed you. They sold you something that was not exactly what you needed. Not saying you didn't get skills or connections or networks or whatever. You're still gonna get something. Like, it's very difficult for you to complete a program and not get absolutely anything. But my point is, because of how the industry is right now in this like chaotic state, you need to be really good at what you're doing to be relevant. And just being able to model a barrel and texture it, it's not enough. It's not enough. Yeah, exactly. As Sekiro Sins is saying here on the chat, placement rates from a university, it's a good measurement. Look at the portfolios of people who are graduating from universities, from the university or the school or the program that you want to attend to. Check and see if that's the level that you want to have, because if it's not, then that's not a good place to be. I'm frightened because that I will completely mess up in an interview because my English becomes really bad when I'm getting nervous. It's not my native language. English is not my native language either, and I mess up English all the time. Try to relax. Try to keep sentences short, but communicate enough, right? So don't try to use like super elaborate, complex syntax things. Just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Proficient art simply opens the door, but ironically, your art's never the reason you get hired for an art role. Yeah. Art is gonna open the door, as Sparrow TV is saying here. It will open the door. It will give you, again, the ticket. It's the opportunity. But there's a bunch of other factors. Are you easy to work with? Are you a cool person? Are you a kind person? Are you efficient? Are you a good team player? Can you communicate properly, as we just talked about? So that kind of stuff, it's important as well. And you need an English course? English for 3D artists. No, it's just practice. English is just practice. One of the things that I did to improve my English, read a lot of books so that your vocabulary and your understanding of the language improves. So read books in English. If you like watching movies, if you like watching series or even anime or whatever, like, watch it with English like voices and with English subtitles. Don't change the subtitles to your native language. Try to keep the subtitles in English. That's gonna help you. That's sorry. That's one of the situations. Gnomon has a 96 placement rate. Yeah, here's the thing. I'm a Gnomon alumni. I graduated Gnomon. And yes, the placement rate is good. However, that's also not necessarily a guarantee. Okay? Because I think the placement rate that they have, it's like placement rate on the first year. So you could be a full year without work, and then you get a job at the end of the year, and that like keeps that placement rate. I'm not sure if it's still 96%, by the way. I'm not sure if it is. And I'm not saying Gnomon is a bad school. Like it's one of the best schools in the world. Some of the best times and some of the best friends that I have are from there. I'm just saying, not everyone can, because I can tell you that from experience. Not everyone who graduated from my terms or close to my terms were able to land a job. So just keep that in mind. Does the diploma still matters? No, portfolio is what matters. I don't care where you graduated from. I don't care, yeah, if you have a diploma or not. Portfolio is all that matters. Well, it's the first step that matters, right? To get you the interview, to get you the first sort of like connection. Do you use English a lot in Mexico too? No, not in Mexico. No, not Mexico, not really. No, in Mexico, everyone speaks Spanish. I need to do the feet. I don't know what am I gonna do with the feet. Let's do a little bit of anatomy. We're gonna be finishing the stream in a couple of minutes, guys. Probably like 15 more minutes. So if you have any more questions, this is the moment. I got a few very good proposals from recruiters, but couldn't get these jobs because I can't relocate. Yeah, that's another, and that's why I mentioned this. This is not only a skill issue, right? It can also be a geopolitical situation. Like, do you have access to like visas? Can you move countries? Do you have the economy or the funds to be able to do that? If you don't, that makes it tricky. Now, as I've mentioned before, be on the lookout for other types of opportunities, guys. Like we tend to think that only the big studios are like the cool places to work in, and that's not necessarily the case. There are some really cool projects out there who are smaller in scope, who can still pay for your bills, can still give you a cool experience and cool growth in this industry. And you don't necessarily hear too much about them because they might not be as famous, right? Yeah, co-dev studios are going to be big in the next couple of years. I think I mentioned that on the last video, because it's not necessarily cheaper. It's more comfortable for the studios to work with like a co-dev situation. Is there any plan to release a new paid course? If so, when will it be released? We're working on something. Hopefully it will release in the next few months. We are definitely working on something, and I'm probably going to start working on another course soon as well. I've been a little bit busy with some studio work here. We're working on the wagon project, the one that I showed you, this one. So we just finished this one. We just got paid like a couple of weeks ago, so that was a big one. What's a co-dev studio? So a co-dev studio, or you can also refer to that. I think you can also refer to it as like an outsourced studio, right? Is, let's say Blizzard is working on their next World of Warcraft, right? And they have a choice. We either hire 50 new 3D artists that are going to be working with like characters and weapons and environments and everything. We bring them all the way to California. We pay high salaries so that they can live comfortably near the campus and work on the next project. We pay for all of their like things. Or we find a studio in, I don't know, let's say Portugal, right? Who are really good at hand painting as well. They can match the style of the studio, and the cost of living in Portugal is definitely lower than the cost of living in California. So we're going to hire that studio, and they're going to be working for the project. For all intents and purposes, they're part of the what's the word, of the team, right? But they're not Blizzard. We don't need to to spend as much money on the artists, because again, they're in a different geopolitical situation, and we pay that studio to help us co-develop that game. So they're gonna have the exact same quality requirements, right? Like you need to do like really good quality jobs still. You're gonna be working on the project, but they're not exactly Blizzard, right? Like they're not exactly Blizzard employees. They are employees of this co-dev studio working alongside Blizzard. That keeps things, what's the word, cheaper for the main studio, in this case for Blizzard, because again, salaries might not be as big, they might not be as expensive for them. If they need to make changes, like if at one point they're like, hey, you know what, the project is done, well, we don't need that studio anymore, so we're finished, thank you very much, we move to the next one, right? Instead of having someone on payroll and being like, oh, there's no more work, what do we do? We're gonna have to fire them, and we're gonna have to pay them like a compensation package and things like that. So it's that kind of stuff. it's a business model at the end of the day, right? There are, again, advantages and disadvantages with that business model, but it's a business model. Here in Mexico, for instance, we have a very famous outsourced studio. I worked there a long time ago, called CGBot. And CGBot works for a lot of big projects, like really big projects. But you're like, if you're part of the outsourced studio, yes, you can definitely sometimes include that in your portfolio, like the fact that you work for like these big projects, but you're technically not an employee of the big company, right? So let's say, for instance, actually, I can share this because this is old news. So you guys remember this game called Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic? No, was it this the MMO? No, this was not the MMO. What was the name of the Star Wars MMO? The Old Republic. Yeah, Star Wars The Old Republic. So this was the MMO. So CGBot, when I was in CGBot, they were working on this. I was not working on that team because I was not, like, I was just a junior artist. This is like literally 2011. So like 16 or 15 years ago. So CGBot here, we're working on that one, on that game. Let's see if there's some like demos here of that. It was a long time ago, so it might be outdated. But anyway, they were working. So there was a specific team. There was like 5 or 6 artists, really good artists, that were working on that game, on Star Wars MMO, The Old Republic. But again, technically, you cannot say you were working for who was developing this, BioWare, right? So you were not a BioWare employee. You were a CGBot employee working or helping that game as part of the outsourced studio. This is why when you play a game and the game ends, you see all of the credits and there's like a bunch of studios that you don't even recognize. All of those are like either co-dev or outsourced studios, which in my book is perfectly fine, by the way. Like, I know some people are really like, oh, then you're not actually a 3D artist, like a AAA artist. No, you're a AAA artist. For all intents and purposes, you're already working on like some really cool big IPs, right? It's just like the legal way and the sort of like, again, business decisions that they make. Is CGBot a good place to work for? You're gonna have to ask whoever is working right now. When I was there, again, I was just there for a little bit, like 3 or 4 months. Very little time, to be honest. And the reason why I quit it was not because I didn't like it. It was because I realized that I needed to go back to studying and I needed to improve my skills if I wanted to work in cooler and bigger projects. So I realized that if I stayed there, I was going to get sort of like stuck for a little while, and I wanted to move a little bit faster. So it was a personal decision on my side. And again, when I was there, it was fine. When I was there, the payment was not great. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, the payment at that time was not that great. However, I'm not sure how things are. Like, it's been literally 15 years since then. So things could have changed like quite like there could have been like some very drastic changes. However, I can tell you, if you're in Mexico and you want to work on big projects, then CGBot is one of the options. If you can't relocate, CGBot is one of the options. Amber Studio is another one. Amber Studio is another outsource company. Those are even bigger, I think, than CGBot because they have people all around the world. So yeah, that's another cool studio, and they also work with like interesting projects, interesting IPs. So yeah. Marco, what's up, my friend? Hello. Really? really liking this character. I think we're in a good position. He's definitely gonna have some sort of like utility belt later on. But like the pants. I think we're in a good spot right now. Still gonna take me several weeks to finish. How often studios accept people working from home office? It's more common now. It's definitely more common now. So I would say it's definitely often. Like, I don't want to say 50% of studios, right? But a good amount. I've been working like home office for the past decade. I've been lucky enough. I love working from home, to be honest. So like all of my literally. Yeah, it's been since 2016, which is when I graduated. Every single job that I've had, it's been remote. If I had to go back to working in a studio, I would do it. I don't mind. But there's a lot of work nowadays that's remote. What is the average time a studio gives you for hands example, a 3D model for them? It depends on the 3D model, right? Like a character like this, I don't know. Again, it depends on the game. I don't want to give an answer because then people take things out of context. But it depends. Like, usually studios are very good at estimating the time that it takes you to do something. So I haven't been in a situation where I've been giving unrealistic expectations. Most of the times expectations are quite adequate. There are certain situations where that might not be the case, right? Some studios where they might expect like really, really fast work to be done. But I always tell my students and my what's the word? And my clients, right? It's the triangle. I always show them the triangle. This is my secret weapon, especially as a freelancer and we're working as when discussing a project with a client. I always tell them we are going to be working with the triangle. And they're like, "What is a triangle?" And I tell them the triangle, a very beautiful thing for everyone. So this is money, how expensive something is. This is time, how much it's going to take. And this is quality, how good you want it to be. Place or pick a point in this triangle where you would like to be, right? What do you want? Do you want things to be cheap? So we're going to place the point really close to money because we're giving a lot of weight to money. Awesome. But that means that quality is going to suffer and time might suffer as well. Okay? So you're like, no, I actually want things to be cheap and I want them to be fast because I need them really, really quickly. Okay, right here. But quality is going to suffer. You're not going to have great quality if you want things to be cheap and you want things to be fast. Oh, no, you know what? I actually want quality to be really good, but I want things to be fast, done fast. Okay, well, then it's not going to be cheap. It's going to be really far away from the cheap part, right? So it's going to cost you quite a bit because I'm going to have to either bring people in, like if I'm building a team, right? I'm going to have to bring really top tier people so that they can do like really good quality and really, really fast. This is it. Okay. Now this is not an L. Let me do like a little arrow thingy. There you go. So I always use this with my clients. What do you want? Do you want something cheap? Do you want something with quality? Do you want things to be done fast? Because if you want everything, right? Like if you want quality, like fast turnaround and good amount of money, sure, we can do that. But it's going to be, again, it's going to be costly. It's going to take a little bit more time that you might, what's the word? You might want to use. And I'm going to give you a good quality, but I can't give you everything. Like with a client, you can't give them everything because it's just impossible. So you decide, where do you want to be, right? That's it. That's all it is. I know it sounds weird, but that's how it is. And this has worked like fantastic for me. Again, as a freelance artist, because they get it. Like clients get this. They understand that there's this thing, that there's this balance right here. In Mexico, we have the bueno, bonito, y barato. It's the 3 Bs. So bueno is quality. Bonito is actually bueno y bonito, it's the same thing, isn't it? I guess bonito would be like time related. But anyway, we use this quite a bit. It's like bueno, bonito y barato. Pick 2 because you cannot have all of them. So yeah, if you're discussing with a client, use that technique. Might help you. Might be useful for you. What is the best site to work in 3D for a computer science student so I can use all my technical knowledge in 3D? Oh, that's a good question, man. What do you mean by site? Like I've never done freelance through sites like Fiverr and this other like freelancing sites. I've never done that myself. And the students that have done that and have shared their experiences with me, it's usually not the greatest experience, to be honest. So, yeah. Krita, is it really good? Because I want to ditch Affinity and I want to use offline apps such as... I love using Krita for painting. I'm not sure how good it is for like image editing, because I do use Photoshop for that stuff. But I love using Krita for painting. The feel is really close to Photoshop, I would say. So it's good. I like it. And it's free, so why not? Hermahex says, hi Abe, first time seeing your Twitch channel, but I want to tell you that thank you so much. Your YouTube videos helped me a lot during a 3DS master I did last year. I learned a lot of tricks. Thank you again. Big fan of your work. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, and welcome here to the stream. I'm glad that the content has been helpful for you. When it comes to portfolio building, would you include work you do in classes? I've taken your Oni class, and I'm currently taking a different character art class, but I'm opting out of putting them. So no, I would not include tutorial work in portfolio pieces. Because when you show a tutorial work, what you're showing is that you know how to follow instructions. I mean, I'm not saying it's not valuable. And you could have done, like, you can do, like, a really cool, like, result. Here, I'm going to showcase one guy. Give me 1 second. So, my advice is, if you're following a tutorial and your result is really good, you can show it. Like, you can include it in your portfolio. I think it's good. It might be a good idea to clarify that that was something done with what's the word, with the tutorial, right? Just to inform any potential recruiter. But here, this is Quentin Pinault. He's a junior 3D artist currently working at Ubisoft, and he recently finished the Pirate course, and he did a freaking great job, man. So freaking good. I'm not sure how long it took him. Haven't talked to him, to be honest. But the Marmoset guys featured his work the other day on Instagram, and he did an amazing job. Like, this is awesome, right? Look at this. He took every single thing we covered during the course, I'm sure, as well as his own experience. So, for instance, here I see he's using normal map information. He's taking some of the stuff from the course and sort of like elevating a little bit by using this like normal map information stuff. And yeah, he just did a good job. Like, it's just so good, man. He did such a good job with the character here. So this kind of stuff, like, if you're able to take, for instance, the Oni and take it to a really, really good freaking level, then sure, include it in your portfolio. Yeah, like, you're gonna know, right? Like, you're gonna know if the stuff that you did is good enough for your portfolio or not. How are you gonna know that? Well, if you can see that the quality is good enough, that's awesome. The thing is, most of the time when people are following tutorials, they're doing that to learn something, right? They're doing that to learn a new skill, to learn a new software, and the result that they tend to get is not that good because they're learning, which is the specific, again, reason why tutorials exist. But if you're already an experienced artist, like our friend here that we just showcased, then sure, like, if you did a great job, of course, like showcase it and freaking show it off, because that's the reason why we're doing art. That's the reason why we're doing portfolios. Yeah, no, he did an amazing job with that character. Great job. What do you think is the best for a character render? Engines? I really like Marmoset. It's really good. It might be covered in the course, but I have a question about painting normals. I would like my models to have the normals follow the color brush strokes. I know you can do it in Substance with layers, but can you do... Yes, you can do it in 3D Code as well, but I actually think there are really cool tools. We showcased one by Aisu Huskan a couple of weeks ago. She created a nice plugin that converts your color information into normal information, and as you mentioned, follows the brush strokes. So you might want to do that. Like we use both Substance and 3D Code on the course, on the Pirate course. And that's how we get some cool results. Awesome. Any more questions, guys? I think we did a good thing this stream. We were able to do this neck piece right here instead of Marvel Designer, and we did this like pants right here as well for the character. So I like it. I like this character. I think he's evolving quite nicely. I'm gonna play with him a little bit more and hopefully finish it. I'm not sure if we're gonna keep doing this on the stream though. This might be a personal project I'm gonna take, and maybe in some of the next streams we're gonna touch upon some other tools. But yeah, like how this is looking. I think this could be a good portfolio piece for me as well eventually. Remember guys, we have a special surprise. So if you are participating on the contest for the character creation contest, the Call to Adventure contest, we have a bonus thing here from our friends at Marvelous Designer. And you can redeem this code right here by going into our Discord channel. So go to the Discord channel, go to the event rules, and there's going to be this secret code right here. And follow the redemption guide so that you can get access to Marvelous Designer and use the app for the contest. So you can use it to learn the app and, of course, include it in your character. If you need some clothing or garments, it's probably like the easiest way to get something that looks very, very nice. And yeah, that's I think that's pretty much it. Hex has a question. Unreal Boy, so what kind of 3D work is best for computer science students? That's a weird question because I'm not entirely sure what computer science things you know. If you're more like programming side of things, then maybe learning a little bit more about Houdini, which is more procedural 3D, could be a good idea. Of course, learning Unreal, which I can see that you already have in your name. So focusing on that kind of stuff is probably what I would recommend for you, because otherwise you're going more towards the art side of things, which is where I am, right? So as an artist, I focus more on the art side of things, you know, texturing, modeling, sculpting, environments, that kind of stuff. But it's a little bit more, again, artistic oriented. You could also look, as someone else here saying on the chat on TikTok, you could be doing things like rigging, you could be doing things like VFX. That kind of stuff is probably a little bit more technically oriented than artistically oriented. Hex says, I have a question. I don't have a powerful machine and I struggle a lot with the rendering process. Any advice to make a decent presentation with minimum render requirements? Blender. I would definitely try Blender, and I would try using the Eevee rendering engine, because that one it's kind of like a game engine, so you're gonna have access to game engine thingies, and it's relatively lightweight, I would say. So you should be able to get some good results with what's the word? With a low-end computer. So you might want to also try again Marmoset, as I've mentioned before. So the cool thing about Marmoset is that we have access to both rendering engines. So this right here is raster render. So as you can see, it still looks pretty nice. Still looks pretty cool. And it's not like expensive or heavy for the computer. You still can get some really nice results. And if you do have a computer that has access to ray tracing, like RTX's graphics cards, then you can turn on ray tracing, and of course it's going to look a little bit nicer, but it's going to be a little bit more expensive. However, even with raster, you can still get some really nice results. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it, my friends. I'm gonna save this character right here, and that's gonna be it for today's stream. Remember, you still have about 3 weeks for the contest, for the Call to Adventure contest. We have amazing prizes from all of our sponsors, so thank you to all of our sponsors: Topogon, Cascadeur, Marmoset, 3D Code, and of course now our new sponsor, Marvelous Designer. We're going to be featuring more of their stuff very soon. And of course, guys, if you have any questions, if you want to reach out, feel free to join the Discord channel. We have a lot of like cool people in there. Our community is amazing. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe in all of the different networks. We are going to be uploading more and more stuff every single day, so hopefully you guys can support this so that we can keep bringing you guys more and more cool things here on the channel. That's pretty much it, guys. Have a great weekend. Enjoy, and I'll see you back very soon. Don't forget, always learning, always improving. I'll see you back in the next one, guys.